the thumbnail.
Well, we wanted to do Creed with the 33. We could have still done Queef with 33.
We could have, you know.
But Dom made Chris made an excellent thumbnail. What is let me give a bit of background. Some of the presentations you two guys have done recently on the show have been absolutely mind blowing, and I think there was this theme that we started to notice with the research. Oh wow, the tickets have started selling now. I think there was a theme that these people that you've been exposing in great detail, Dom and Chris, it was almost like they were of some sort of like brotherhood. And we came, I think the word assassin got bandied around the last time you came on the show because we kept finding these links, and that's what sort of inspired this presentation, right?
Mm. Yeah, well, I think it sort of, we're coming, the evidence was becoming too hard to ignore.
Yeah.
There was sort of an attachment to some of the bloodlines that I was researching, and that they were also related to serial killers, you know, etc. Not just assassins, but even people. If you look at, say, Tony Blair, I mean, you'd say he was a massive assassin, wouldn't you, of Iraq?
Well, yeah, like a mass murderer, like Genghis Khan or something type, like that.
Last time we were on, I think we were discussing quite a few of them. We'll recap a little bit before we crack on. But So where do you want to start? Are you starting now? Or are you going flicking through some of your stuff?
I think what we should do, we should get down to the meat and potatoes of this Assassin's Creed thing, and I'll save the other talking points for afterwards. Or did you want to do it the other way around? It's up to you.
No.
Yeah, because this is what everyone's tuned in for tonight. I mean, I've obviously got the regular Clown World talking points. There's some fucking good ones, I'm not going to lie. But we'll save that for afterwards, mate.
Well, I mean, if you want to put that first video on.
Okay, so yeah, Dom has painstakingly prepared 15 video slides.
I'm not saying we're going to be able to play them all tonight, by the way.
Okay.
But anyway.
Okay, so this is number 1, Contagion from 2011.
It was a groundbreaking ceremony for a new factory.
Did she mention seeing anyone who was sick? Anyone on a plane, the airport?
No, she said she was jet lagged.
The average person touches their face 3 to 5 times every waking minute. In between, we're touching doorknobs, water fountains, and each other.
Matt. Mom? No, go up to your room, honey.
So we have a virus with no treatment protocol and no vaccine at this time.
You had a seizure this morning, Beth.
Does she have a history of seizures and
No.
allergies?
As of last night, there are 32 cases.
Unfortunately, she did die.
Right. Can I go talk to her?
Mr. Amoff, your wife is dead.
What are you talking about?
Okay.
What happened to her? What happened to her?
Is there any way someone could weaponize the bird flu? Is that what we're looking at?
Someone doesn't have to weaponize the bird flu. The birds are doing that.
Watch this. It's transmission, so we just need to know which direction.
On day 1, there were 2 people, and then 4, and then 16. In 3 months, it's 1 billion. That's where we're headed.
They're calling out the National Guard. They're moving the president underground.
People will panic.
Get away!
It will tip over.
The truth is being kept from the world.
Cook your samples, destroy everything.
Hello. I need you to get me the names of everyone who serviced this room. It's an emergency.
You can't panic now.
I know.
I'm gonna get you home.
I got people too, Dr. Cheever. We all do.
Don't talk to anyone. Don't touch anyone. Stay away from other people.
Get back in your car. We're not sick.
It's figuring us out faster than we're figuring it out.
It's mutated.
Okay, wow. I haven't seen that movie in total, but I've seen bits of it before. Just that trailer is it's like an advert for the Soviet Union.
Well, it aligns perfectly with, I think, where we're going with Matt Damon.
Yes. Yeah. But I mean, that video, why did we choose? For numerous reasons. There are quite a lot of things in there that are linked to what we're going to be talking about genealogy and things like that. Can you flick the presentation on?
Certainly.
A good picture, that, by the way, Chris.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Just an amalgamation of assassins and assassinated fuck.
Before
Your mic sound all right? I'm on a bit of a delay. Sorry.
No, you're not too bad. There is a slight delay, but it's not that bad.
Okay.
Not as bad as last time. Yeah. It's all right, Chris. Don't worry about it. It's all right. Is that? So that is if anybody wants to look at this, I'm not going to go through it. This tells you how when people say his cousin once removed and all that type of stuff. This is the chart that they use to follow the genealogy. So this basically means this box, if you in this box, you're related, basically.
Right. Okay. So let's just make this very clear to everyone. When they say my 6th cousin, my 9th cousin,
once removed or 5 times removed type of thing, you can see that if you go horizontal or vertical, there's a line that goes straight through the middle of it all, down diagonally across it. 4th cousin, 5th cousin, you can see it going down the sort of like centre across the square. Yeah. Anyway, so if people want to look at that, I'm not going to go through that because it takes a long time to explain. But
it's very interesting. I've never seen this chart before. I wasn't aware this existed.
No, I haven't.
This is actually quite informative when it comes to actually what all this stuff means with regards to how closely they're related. Because when you say like someone's 6th cousin removed, that can make it sound like there's a big gap in between where this would actually show there's not.
No, there's not. No. But basically, you need to have. There must be a common ancestor who is common to both people. Yeah.
Yes.
And that chart there says you've got a common ancestor, basically. Yeah. It's a line of descent, as it says there in the dictionary. It explains it continuously from an ancestor. So yeah. Anyway, I just thought it'd be quite interesting for people to have a glance at that. So Matt Hancock. Chris pulled this up because he remembered this when we did the Hancock thing, didn't he, Chris?
That he used the Contagion film to help with the protocols with COVID. Like the scumbag is. That guy there in that film, Jude Law, he even played a conspiracy theorist, didn't he? I think it turned out, if you can see there, CDC lies, but I think it turned out in the end that he was making money out of it.
What a great example of peasant predictive programming.
Yeah,
this is the ultimate textbook example.
What year did this come out?
2011, something like that. Yeah,
2011, 9 years before 2020. Weirdly,
yeah,
because COVID didn't happen in 2019, like I said, did it? It was 2021.
Well, they were talking about it in 2019, weren't they?
They just needed that 19 number in there, I think, and
yeah. Well, yeah.
So and that interview there with Nick, I'm too fat cat fit in a Ferrari. He was interviewing Hancock back in 2020, and that they were actually talking about Contagion on that interview. I didn't use it within this clip because it took me ages to edit it because we're using lots of the words that we don't use on here.
Yeah, I bet.
But yeah, they're all laughing and smiling and joking that he says, "Yeah, we used we're exactly the same as the film, basically."
That's crazy. That's even for Clown World. That's really pushing the boat to actually admit that the initial rollout and the plans and the protocols put in place by the Soviet ministers were inspired by a Hollywood film. And then with what you're about to go into about Matt Damon and those connected, it just oh my god.
But why wouldn't it be? Look at the peasants must love it. They love a good movie, don't they?
I'm not going to lie. I felt like I was in a movie. With what was happening in early 2020, it was like every trip out the door was like.
Well, now we're out the other end. We can see, we obviously knew what was going on to a certain extent, but the entire thing was structured and staged from start to finish.
Well, as with the President Inquiry, All they're doing is hearing stories about how bad it was in hospitals and
But
things.
you've still got residue from it now. Like me and Becky, we were out the other day when we were in Serbia. We saw people still in masks, didn't we?
Yeah.
The odd people. We saw someone shopping. Was it yesterday, or the day before? Had a mask on, just on their own.
Mm. Yeah, well, you know how many 3 dart finishes they've had if they're still wearing a mask now, don't you?
3 dart finish every year. It's an annual event.
Yeah.
Shit.
So going back to the acting assassins, they come in many shapes and sizes. Assassins, hitmen, serial killers, intelligence agents, academic Manchurian candidates, politicians, celebs and rock stars and Hollywood actors. It might not be like at the end of a rifle scope, but it could be somebody pushing a 3 dart finish, for example, in 2021. And so we're going to look at the bloodlines of some of the famous people, and one of them was actually in there. If you want to play video 2, I've edited this down so it doesn't say any funky words. This follows on from the Contagion thing that we were just watching there.
I'm just loading up video 2.
It'll probably make you want to smash your screen up. But
Matt Damon. One sec, let me just pause it. How many tickets have we sold, Andy PG?
We've sold 7 now.
7 tickets already. So that's what's that? 60 tickets. Big shout to everyone that's.
No, we had 59 before we went live.
So
we
okay.
Just sold 64. No, 66.
Christian sniped in.
Yes.
Right, we're on 66 tickets. Right, let's sell 100 tickets to this event tonight. Big shout to everyone that's supporting Rise Above and Sheep Farm.
Hey everybody, this is Matt Damon. So a few years ago, a bunch of us did this movie called Contagion, which we've noticed is creeping its way back up on the charts on iTunes for obvious reasons, given what we're all living through right now. And so the Mailman School of Public Health at Columbia University reached out to the cast and asked us if we would have a virtual reunion to do some PSAs for everybody that might be helpful. And so we readily agreed, and so here they are. So everything you're going to hear from us has been vetted by public health experts and scientists. So I'm here to talk to you about social distancing, something we've been hearing a lot about on TV, I think, the last couple weeks. In the movie, I played a guy who was immune to the hypothetical that was spreading around the world. And so a few things to start. One, that was a movie. This is real life. I have no reason to believe that I'm immune. And neither do you, no matter how young you are.
Like, cheers for pointing that out, Matt Damon. That was a movie. This is real life. In case you were confused, in case there was any confusion up to this point. Sorry, I just did a pipette of this stuff called rocket fuel.
In case there was any contagion.
It almost blew my head off, and I'm not sponsored by rocket fuel yet before anyone has a go at me.
It's going to take some time for our bodies and our doctors to understand it and to understand the best way to protect us. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about. Social distancing. It means stay 6 feet away from another person. It means not gathering in groups, and it means staying home or sheltering in place if that's what government officials are telling you to do. You can actually sit on the couch or in a chair like I'm doing and watch TV and save a life at the same time. Now is the time to spend all the time you want staring at your phone or your tablet. And if anybody gives you a hard time about it, tell them not to bother you because you are saving.
Oh, saving what? I hope he said lives.
I had to edit. Yeah, he said saving lives.
We are saving money for the World Economic Forum.
You what, Chris?
Do you think he had a gun pointed at his head from the other side of the camera? Do you know, interestingly as well, when Contagion came out 2011, also did Planet of the Apes, which basically was showing simian flu spread around the world. And they literally had that map at the end, if you remember, where it shows patient X where it happened, and it showed all the lines go around the world. So you had, I think that was it directed Contagion. That was kind of a slightly higher brow film, but then you had the popcorn film of Planet of the Apes at the same time, same year, 2011, 9 years before.
More peasant programming, mate. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
I was seeing some of the graphics, like the little infographics that was in that clip, even just with the virus spinning round and stuff. It reminded me of all the stuff that I was watching, like in January in 2020, before it proper broke. Because I used to watch all the international news stations late at night, on YouTube, and it would all be in different languages, but they'd be showing the graphics of you know, the virus and its potential spread, and it just oh yeah, shit, and 30 word. It looked like something out of a movie at the time, and I was watching it, I was thinking, oh shit.
Just so everyone's aware, if for any health information, please go to the World Health Organization's website for any information there. Thank you.
And the NHS, Andy.
Yes. And the NHS, absolutely, if you're in the UK.
Yeah, we've got to make that clear. If you ever want to get the proper advice, that's where you need to go.
Go to the National Hitler Service.
No, this is a serious thing. You need to go to the NHS.
Please
and
consult
the WHO.
The Wuhan Holocaust Organisation.
Fuck's sake, look, I'm trying to get us out of YouTube.
You need to get some live beeps on
Gosh.
I need to point out 487 people are tuned in right now. Let's get this stream shared around. Excellent. We're pretty much banned on Facebook, but if you share it on your page, it will be all right. Let's get over 500 people tuned in.
Yeah, let's do it.
Raw. Big shout out to Sheep Farm.
Let's put the president back on.
No problem. I'm on the buttons, mate.
I'm chopping away at different stuff.
No, it's good. It's good.
So we hit on this last time. I think this was the first one that sort of got us going. Again, Chris sent me down a rabbit hole with Christopher Nolan and his brother, who was accused of assassinating a guy or knocking him off in Costa Rica, if you remember.
I'm not familiar with this.
He used, well, we mentioned it last time on the podcast because
I remember you talking about it.
He used the pseudonym of Matthew McCall Oppenheimer 20 years before his brother made the film Oppenheimer.
Yes, I do remember you talking about this now. Yeah.
And we also spoke about Miles Copeland Sr., father of Stuart Copeland from the pop band The Police with Sting. And he was the station chief of the Middle East, and he had the highest echelon clearance for D-Day and what have you. And he was a CIA top-level agent. And Copeland's mother, Stuart Copeland's mother, was also a member of the SOE. She went behind enemy lines in France. So this is what got us onto this type of stuff. And John Wilkes Booth is a distant relation to Sherry Blair, or Sherry Booth, or Lady Blair, CBE. She's now from the London School of Economics. I'm going to go into a bit more detail if we get time about her, because there's a bit of a conflict of arguments, people saying she isn't related to him and other people saying she is. And I'll just show the evidence that I feel she is related to him, because their family says she is. We've got Kevin Bacon as well, who obviously him and his wife are actually cousins. And they're cousins of John Hinckley Jr., the man who shot Reagan, or Ray Gun, who came up with the Star Wars weapons.
Ray Gun?
Yeah. President Ray Gun.
Not the break dancer.
No, not the break dancer. But John Hinckley Jr. is also first cousin of Nancy Reagan, wife of the president he actually shot. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and John Hinckley Jr. is also a family tree that includes George Washington, Ulysses Grant, Rutherford B. Hayes, Warren Harding, Howard Taft, Calvin Coolidge, Franklin Roosevelt, Gerald Ford, Richard Nixon, the Bushes, and Barack Obama.
Right at the end of the list, Barack Obama.
Yeah. Well, and he's also related to Jeffrey Dahmer and also Alec Baldwin, who we'll go into in a little bit as well.
Links are crazy already.
Yeah, mental. So I was having a chat with Wim. I don't know if Wim's in the chat there, but he asked me if I'd done any research on Oasis and Blur. I haven't done any research on the Gallaghers, but I always found it a bit odd that their name, their name was it's linked to describe optical illusions, isn't it, or mirages?
What, a Gallagher?
No, Oasis and Blur.
Oh, right, of course, yeah. I was thinking, what's Gallagher's doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, an oasis is an optical illusion, and, you know, to blur your vision. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, so I'll just put the... So we'll be flicking round. So Taylor Swift, she's a bit of a name of the moment. Our friend Queer Starling, he's got free tickets to go see.
It's clearly racist.
Yeah, so she if you want, you can play video 3 while we're still talking.
Okay, this one hasn't got any sound, though?
No sound on that, no.
Where are we? Video 3. Swift and Dahmer.
We've sold 18 tickets currently.
Not bad. We've only been
Guys,
broadcasting half
the
an hour.
33rd person that buys a ticket tonight will get a +1 for free on the guest list from
Look
us.
at that. That's how generous we are.
Michael
Jackson.
Right here, right now, is where we draw the line.
So I'm just flicking through here.
The problem is you're a fucking retard.
Thank you, Mark Passio.
I've been called worse. By Mark. I'm privileged to be called that by Mark.
I think Mark was actually calling Greta a retard.
Yeah, I know he was. Yeah.
It's a term of endearment from Mark Passio to get be called in a retard, I think.
So this video here is showing the links back to Charlemagne from Taylor Swift. And then there's another video as well that shows her relation. She's a cousin, a 9th cousin of Jeffrey Dahmer.
Wow.
And a 10th cousin of Mark David Chapman, who shot John Lennon. Yeah, if you just flick back to the presentation, Mark, I'm calling you Mark now.
Oh. We need one sec. Let me just address
Pamela Swan. Is one of our mods.
We need a link to the hotel for the ticket buyers.
That's on the website, guys.
The link to the hotel comes with your ticket. Download the ticket, and that's got the booking line for the hotel to book your hotel rooms. If not, the details are on Patreon. Sorry, right? We need to go back to the presentation. Big shout out to everyone that's supporting Sheep Farm and Rise Above, getting tickets from March. £33.
Yeah. So Taylor Swift's other half, Travis Kelce, is he called? Something like that. He was paid 20 million shekels by the Michelle Pfizer company.
What?
Yeah, for pushing the... I've got a video of him, actually. That's a video. If you see in the right bottom corner there, that's him
20
actually pushing...
million?
20 million working for pushing the arms spears.
I'm just looking at the other thing here. It says he's also got $100 million distribution deal with Wondery, the podcast network owned by Amazon, for their podcast New Heights.
Yeah.
So that's how he gets his pro-Britney message out to the world.
Well, that's a recent deal, is that? The 100 million. He got paid the 20 million in 2020/21, and he's an American football player. And him and his brother have just signed a 100 million deal. That's the payment, isn't it, for doing...
Holy shit! I bet that's a lot.
The
more
100 million, yeah.
That's a lot more than he made from football. I bet.
Well, people, yeah. So she is related to a bloke called William Swift, who was part of the Great Migration into America, and she's got links back to the people who signed Robert de Ross, the de Ross family. Robert de Ross was one of the signers of the Magna Carta. She's goes back through Robert I, Alfred the Great as well. She's 7th cousin, one time removed of Bill Gates. She's 10th cousin of Matt Damon, Ellen DeGeneres, Barack Obama.
She's hot in the press at the moment as well, Ellen DeGeneres. She's trying to weasel her way back into the peasant sphere.
Because even peasants got I think it was maybe 21, 22.
It was she was just. I think it was some people that were on her set. They who worked with her for some time. They said how much of a dick she was.
She got exposed for being an absolute bitch.
Yeah. As well as she was just all in Pizzagate, all over it. She was licking that pizza box, guys.
Well, who was that? Who was her other half? That lady that in that mini, Chris.
Oh, that were her ex, wasn't it? What was her name? Anne Hirsch.
The one who allegedly dumped her.
Yeah, who came out of that ambulance alive and then got pushed back in again.
Yeah.
If you remember.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that.
Speeding electric car, yeah.
Didn't they? Wait a minute.
They got creepy as hell. Yeah, she drove through a thing, hit a wall. They dragged her out on a gurney like she was dead with a blanket over her, and then she suddenly on the video, the news were videoing. She suddenly jumped up and they pushed her back down and just chucked her in the back of the van.
Yeah, so I remember seeing that.
That was fucking creepy, wasn't it? Yeah.
So she crashed in an EV, electric vehicle.
I made that bit up. I don't know.
Oh, right,
it was
I was already constructing some story about how it was remotely controlled. They're trying to take her out, and it didn't work.
It was a mini, I think, Chris. It was a mini. Yeah.
Was it? I can't remember.
Yeah, I seem to remember it being a red mini.
Creepy weird story though.
Yeah,
see, these roles they pay well, but also if you come out of contract, the consequences are quite severe. Like,
well, just look at Diddy.
Oh yeah, we'll be chatting about P Diddler later on a little bit. Like, not too
I always
much.
found it funny that they had Dahmer in America around the similar time we had Dennis Nielsen, kind of doing the same thing. They find a head in a pot, and it was kind of a similar.
I wonder if there's an
Serial killers.
isometric projection
Story,
there
wasn't
from Jason RKX for that time period.
What time period?
What if shit's happening in America and in the UK at the same time?
Yeah, well, it's funny how things can be mirrored in different places at
migration.
once.
Mirrored. Yeah, exactly. That.
Oh yeah, that seems to be
Exactly
happening
like
everywhere
that.
at the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
time as well.
Exactly
Wow.
like
What a coincidence.
Anyway, moving swiftly on. Taylor swiftly on.
Yeah, Taylor Swift. Yeah, so she's related to Sausage Fingers as well. 18th
No
cousin.
way.
Yeah.
See, people could say that, oh, if you look hard enough, everyone's going to be related
That
to
is
each
the
other. And
standard.
That
that's
is
knee-jerk normie response when you talk about
that
this
is
stuff.
your Wikipedia.
It's not true. It's not true,
No,
is
no,
it?
of course it's not. No,
You
of
only
course
have to
it's
refer back to that grid that Dom kindly shared earlier on.
But unfortunately, no one can prove otherwise. So that is the get out of jail free card.
Well, also, normal peasants don't probably track their lineage like these guys do.
Oh, no, they do, mate. They upload their DNA constantly trying to find out
would you know
who they're related to.
Do you know who your 9th cousin removed is?
No, mate.
Of course you don't.
My father
yeah?
was adopted. Of course I don't know. Half my family are.
Right,
mate.
and if you ask any normal peasant on the street, who's your 6th cousin removed on your mum's side, they won't have a fucking clue, because the fact is we are not interested in that stuff like they are, because they're trying to preserve their bloodline. So it's like, when would we think about how far away a 6th cousin removed is? That sounds like no one you would ever know. But these guys, they know one of their 6 cousins removed, because they're all still working in the same network as one hive mind unit.
Also, that's why the elites fuck each other. The siblings fuck each other.
Of course.
Chris relates it to Damien from Omen, don't you?
Well, they follow. I think even Fritz Springmeier talked about that, didn't he? Where they follow the little bastard sons and daughters, and then they pick them out and use them because they know they're more susceptible to do this stuff, and they'll choose them for certain. You remember it in old stories, don't you, where the king's got some kid, in the village, and he keeps an eye on it, keeps it.
Yeah.
And then
he's always got a bastard in all of
child,
them. Game of Thrones, all of the, Last Kingdom. They've always got a little sly bastard somewhere that they draw for at the right time to do their dirty
peasant
work.
mistresses.
Yeah.
I think
What
one
did
Bill
Jon
Clinton,
Snow
one
in
of
Game
those
of
kind
Thrones,
characters. One Bill Clinton, one of those kind of characters, didn't they say he had
I did hear about this, Chris. No, you're right. Yeah.
I can't remember exactly.
An illegitimate child. No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, I think he was an illegitimate child. Yeah. So you have to be suspicious of him, don't you? And,
but I think as well, from an energetic perspective.
No, go on, Tom. Go on.
Yeah, from an energetic perspective, all right, the bloodlines. There are lots of people that share these bloodlines. There's no doubt about that, right? I'm not saying everybody does, because it's just not possible that. But they don't pick them all. They pick the odd one to do certain things. So there's something else that they're picking as well, from probably an energetic perspective, or something we don't even understand.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't use that grid to literally choose within the family who they've got to procreate with.
But then weird shit happens. Look at that, like Chester Podesta.
Oh, what were they?
Do you remember that? Well, he's not here anymore. But
Yeah. But it was his
maybe
dad
he was an outcast.
His dad was Podesta, and his dad was clearly Nelson Rockefeller.
Yeah.
Maybe the thing is, they could be bastards and still be of the same bloodline.
That's what I mean.
Just because it's not someone that you'll marry, it's not like someone you're married to. It doesn't mean you haven't had that kid with someone in the same bloodline.
No.
There's loads of shit about Prince Harry's not.
Prince Harry Hewitt.
Sausage fingers.
Yeah. Harry Hewitt. Yeah.
So we did a show with Nick Colostrom, and he was talking all about the. Was it last week that one? This week.
This week it's going out tomorrow.
Oh, it's coming out. It's coming out tomorrow, isn't it? I forgot.
Yeah.
We've done one with Nick
Colostrom.
Done
that many this week. I've done 4 podcasts this week.
What, your own ones? Or have you been on other people's?
All his own. Yeah. Anyway.
Fuck me, you're busy over there.
Yeah.
And that's good to hear, though. Like us, like sheep farm is like moving forward and getting busier and busier.
Yeah. I'm doing a health podcast, and anyway. So Bill Gates, I've got. We don't have to play this because we played it at the beginning. It's just of his bloodline. Anyway, he's related through again the signers of the Magna Carta, Robert de Roe, and he's related to William the Conqueror, King Robert, Alfred the Great, Charlemagne again, via a guy called Stephen Gates. And these are the people that he's related to. All these people that are going through now. So you can see the lineage that he's got. He's also related to Matt Damon. He's his 11th cousin, one time removed.
Matt Damon.
Yeah. So
I can't think of Matt Damon without thinking of, what is it, Team America?
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. It's just, yeah, it's quality. It's so good.
Interestingly, Bill Gates is also related to America's first spy called Nathan Hale. So he was apparently spying on the British, and he got caught, and he got. I think they killed him, strung him up. And he's also related to John Hinckley Jr. and he's also related to Alec Baldwin.
Another great assassin.
Yeah. You put the presentation back up, mate. I'll show you Alex Baldwin's.
Okay, right, all right. Let me just get rid of that one.
And you can see from these lineages, I've given a different sort of description on this next one. Of Alex Baldwin, or the Baldwins.
King Henry of England, yeah. Isabel de Beaumont, Alan de Dunsterville. These people come back to like the 1100s. These are obviously like famous like aristocracy and shit. Wheeler, Martha.
Yeah,
I don't recognise that Baldwin on the right.
I don't know who he is. He's the elder one, I think, Chris. There's definitely
like
four of them.
It looks exactly the same, yeah.
Yeah, he's called there's Alexander Daniel Baldwin, William Baldwin, and Stephen Baldwin. So yeah, and the story about these Alec Baldwin, who shot that lady in that film with apparently a loaded gun. I mean, that whole story is very strange, because why would a loaded gun be taken onto a film set?
That breaks every protocol. It's like that. Who was the last person that allegedly happened to? Was it
it's the Crow?
Bruce Lee. Yeah, Bruce Lee's son. That's what allegedly happened to him. That he was in the middle of shooting a film and it's supposed to be firing a blank, and there was a live shell in there.
Somebody put that in there.
Of course. For anyone that knows anything about firearms protocols and that kind of stuff, even in the States where you think it's gun ho, like, not on a movie set, it's not when all that insurance is in place and all of those assets are there and could be potentially be hurt.
Hundreds of people potentially.
You think
on
they
set.
would allow a live round anywhere on there? Even the guy with the blank gun who's got the huge contract to do that.
A blank gun can still do some damage, mate.
Oh yeah, with muzzle flash, it'll still take an eye out and stuff.
She was Ukrainian as well, wasn't she? Just before the Ukrainian shenanigans.
Shout out to Alan Partridge.
Gosh.
So the Baldwins' 37th great grandfather was Alfred the Great, and they're also related to John Hinckley Jr. He seems to be pretty thick through a lot of these people that I found. And when I find these through genealogy, I have to run my own genealogy back through again. And he's also related to George Bush.
Of course.
Or the Bush family, should I say. But Mark David Chapman, supposed killer of John Lennon, is the ninth cousin to Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. Catherine Hepburn, John Wayne, who was an Iron Grand Mason, Humphrey Bogart was a Mason, and many others. And he also shares being a cousin with John Hinckley Jr. So they're both even related.
Fucking hell.
So when everyone says they like to keep it in the family, they really do.
Yeah. It's almost like the good-looking ones got on-screen jobs, and the not so pretty members of the.
It's a longer game than that, Michael. It's a longer game. Look at Bono. Bono attracted a massive following by his music. Now he's talking about politics, humanitarian work.
No, but I'm saying but Bono's not going to turn out to be like an actual physical assassin, is he?
They wait to see who's got what traits in them.
Really?
Yeah,
Bono, stroke, Sean Penn.
If you're charismatic on the microphone like you'd be like a politician speaker, wouldn't you? Or something like that. You'd be talking to people.
What, like this? Yeah, but what I'm saying is the people that seem to be like get the actual shitty jobs, like pulling the trigger and capping people, then they're like the ones that aren't so pretty on the screen. If these people are all so closely related, they're entertainers, they're actors, they're news presenters, they're also assassins.
Yeah, I had a good video of Woody Harrelson being questioned. I'll put it on the next Matrix one. Being interviewed, asked questions about his dad, Charles Void Harrelson, who was apparently one of the guys. Do you know that famous picture of the tramps on when JFK got shot, being led away? He was apparently the middle guy. Woody Harrelson's dad.
What?
Yeah. So he got Charles Void Harrelson was a contract killer, and he was arrested for the killing of Judge John H. Wood Jr. by shot him basically in 1979, and he was apparently one of the three tramps. Famous picture of three tramps being led away from a rail cart.
Oh, Michael, the picture now.
Yeah.
Well, so are they suggesting that he was an actual tramp, or he was an actor playing a tramp for that photo?
It was an actor playing a tramp for that photo.
Right.
So the story is that they've all got new shoes on. The hair's not messy. They've got suits on.
So the story is it's a fake, a stage photo, rather.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or they were making an escape because they were part of the assassination team.
Right, interesting. I'm not aware of this photo. I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah.
Maybe if I see it, I would.
Yeah. In a video, which I haven't got on here, but in a video, Woody Harrelson were asked if his father did the killing. He said yes, and he also said he 100% worked for the CIA.
Didn't he die in prison for?
I think so. Yeah, I think you're right, Chris. Yeah.
And that piece of footage, he looks like he's when they're talking about it. To me, he looks like he's acting.
Yeah, the famous Three Tramps video on 22nd of November 1963.
I've got the image here. I'm just sending it over to Michael.
Oh yeah, let's get the image up.
Yeah. So, but you start to see a picture of all these people that are in the public eye that are related to. Again, Dave McGowan's great work. When he did the Laurel Canyon book, started this process off, and all we're doing is taking it to another place when me and Chris talk about it, or we're talking about it on here. We're just digging a little bit deeper, going from his work.
So I've got the three.
So here's the three. So it's the guy in the middle, yeah, the tall guy in the middle.
Got a lot of windows going on here.
That's apparently who it was. According to a lot of authors and books, Jim Mars wrote a book called Crossfire. It was the first book I read. So the guy in the middle, the tall guy, is apparently Woody Harrelson's dad.
Okay.
Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But it looks like him when you see pictures of him. There's interviews of him in prison.
There's lots of images here. I've just clicked.
There's a better picture.
Googled Three Tramps JFK assassination. Yeah. Loads of pictures, and there's from all different angles.
Yeah, there's a famous one where the coppers have got the guns at Port Arms, which they always said that they would not have done that. They've arrested 3 people. Anyway, yeah.
Have a look at this one, Lars. You can see there.
In America, they
look at this one up here.
They?
You can see this. You can see. Go to Facebook.
Yeah.
You can see. There you go. So that's the.
Yeah, it looks like Woody Harrelson. Look at the nose. You can. Is this guy the guy in the middle here?
No, this dude, the tall guy here, the one on the left.
Yeah, apparently that's him. According to, he's the youngest and the tallest of the 3 tramps, according to Jim Mars in his book.
Mate, I've never heard about the 3 tramps.
Yeah,
JFK assassination.
Yeah, interesting stuff. This is what set me off on my road. I mean, Chris's was slightly different to mine, but JFK was the one in the late 80s that I started reading about.
What you mean? Your first trip down the rabbit hole?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. JFK.
Yeah, we're about 18. Yeah.
Fair play. In the late 1980s.
Yeah, man.
I was reading about UFOs and Dom reading about JFK, and then I read
currently 536 peasants tuned in.
Very good, very good. Well, that's a good combination, JFK and UFOs, to start you off on your rabbit hole journey. I think you could, that was a good introduction back in the day. You could do a lot worse.
Yeah,
imagine being a normie in 2020 and just having that as their introduction to the rabbit hole.
Brought up in a small village in rural York, Pennines, I think we were a bit wacky. We're only brown people in the village as well. Only the brown people in the village. Yeah.
Let me get this photo off the screen.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a slight interlude. But another interlude, actually, is Bobo's Johnson's dad was interviewed and fitted out with a Savile Row suit with a gun pocket by MI6. Boris Johnson's dad.
Suit with a gun pocket.
Yeah. So... And they're descended from Mary Queen of Scots, King Edward I, Henry III, King Louis of France, William the Conqueror, Charlemagne again, Alfred the Great, yada, yada, yada. A lot of the signers of the Magna Carta. And he's also related to, anyway, so...
Yes.
Yeah.
The web is woven.
Yeah, I think they're also related to John Hinckley Jr. I might have got that wrong, but I think they're also related there. And they're also a cousin of Bill Gates. So if you think about in 2020 when he was meeting with Bill Gates, he's Bill Gates' ninth cousin 3 times removed. Do they know this when they're meeting? You know.
Well, if all of this is as true as we think it is, it would sort of be like, for me, more like this person is interacting with me at this level by default. He must be a member of the family, because it's sort of like all of the players that you're moving with, and you get to that level, they've got to be bloodline people, because that's the higher level of the middle management sort of thing.
Yeah. So come on to Jeff Leeds Bradford Eyes Bezos. Jeff's maternal grandfather was a guy called Lawrence Preston Guise. He was the regional director of the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission, and he was also assistant director of the Division of Military Applications of the Atomic Energy Commission. Guise then went on to work for ARPA, and if you remember, ARPA came up with the first internet connection called ARPANET. So he was a director of ARPA, one of the first directors of ARPA. Lawrence Guise then was one of the first employees of the Pentagon's Advanced Research Agency, DARPA.
ARPA to DARPA.
Yes. And then his son happens to start up one of the biggest online internet businesses that is also subbed out to the CIA through contracts as well. And if you think about DARPA, DARPA is said to have invented the touchscreen. That's where the touchscreen meant to have come from.
Wow.
Voice recognition, high-speed networking, internet searches. Because if you think none of these are patented, Google hasn't got the patents for internet search engines and stuff like that. Anybody can set one up.
Yeah, the framework of the new system that we're basically living in now.
Yeah.
Internet of Things.
Yeah.
Internet of Peasants.
So, yeah, it's
the IOP.
So this guy here is Alan Shepard Jr., second man in space. Alan Bartlett Shepard Jr., he commanded the Apollo 14 mission, and if you believe all that nonsense, piloting the Apollo lunar module Antares. He apparently hit 2 golf balls from the lunar surface. Maybe
did he fuck?
Yeah, right.
Maybe he hit Robo Musk's Tesla.
He basically chipped a ball out of the top of the NASA studio in Disneyland.
Yeah. His parents were Alan Bartlett Shepard Sr. and Pauline Resner Emerson. They're descendants of the Mayflower passenger Richard Warren, as was Taylor Swift. So Richard Warren was one of the passengers on the pilgrim ship Mayflower and the signer of the Mayflower Compact, which was the Mayflower Compact was the early what do they call it, the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights. That was the first Bill of Rights. Yeah.
Wow.
So Shepard's grandfather, following on for No Plumbers Allowed, owned the Derry National Bank in Ireland. And through his many ancestors, his connected bloodlines include Elvis, Ernest Hemingway was a CIA agent, Richard Gere, Orson Welles, Ulysses S. Grant, and Franklin Roosevelt presidents. He's also got lineage to King Henry II, King Louis, etc. And he's also related to John Wayne Gacy.
So he's all over it.
Wayne Gacy.
He's dripping in the DNA.
And Jeffrey Dahmer again.
It's crazy because people like Jeffrey Dahmer are obviously in the mainstream consensus. They're painted out to be this lone wolf, psychopathic nutcase, no friends, both their families are dead from nothing. You know, that's the common archetype for that they generally paint these sort of like famous assassins.
The common archetype.
Yeah, it's common archetype. But then to hear that these lone wolf weirdos are just as much bloodline
related to Taylor Swift
as the people that they're shooting. They're related to King James I, Taylor Swift, and Bill Gates.
But didn't you think
absolute
that
madness?
Taylor Swift weren't loads of people collapsing or something at Taylor Swift's concert?
There was something shady going on about one of her
blanking out the memories.
Maybe it was multiple.
I couldn't remember what happened.
Is that right, Chris? They couldn't.
Yeah, I was going to say actually.
I tried to keep my. I tried to keep my research out of things like Taylor Swift concerts because, as far as I'm concerned, if you buy a ticket and attend one of those, you deserve everything you get.
Yeah. But what was it? But people losing their memories.
Yeah,
apparently they were coming out and they couldn't remember any of the songs.
And there was something. Some psychologist said it was something to do with the lighting or something. I heard that was their excuse for it. Like weeks later, I heard that.
Wow.
On the shady corners of the internet. I don't know if it's anything, valid. That's what I think they tried to put it off as.
Do you want to chuck video 5 on?
Do you remember what was it? Which concert was it when there was like a wave of energy going through the crowd? People were falling
that was
over.
Dana Ray energy wave. yeah. Sorry, Becky, I had you on mute.
That's right, I'm eating pizza.
All right, okay, I'll put you back on mute then.
Yeah, the Dana Rowe energy ray. Lana Del energy ray. Lana Del energy ray concert.
We got there eventually.
Come on!
Is this video number 5?
Yeah, video number 5.
Okay.
On July 3rd, 1971, Jim Morrison died in Paris under what can only be called mysterious circumstances. We don't know what happened to Jim in Paris, and I don't think we're ever going to know what happened to Jim in Paris. And the last time I saw Jim was in the recording studio when we were finishing up the album L.A. Woman. And that's actually the last time Jim Morrison was in a recording studio, the last time he ever sang, to my knowledge, on planet Earth. Certainly the last time he ever sang with the Doors.
Former Doors keyboardist Ray Manzarek.
First time I saw him was on MTV. I was just completely blown away. Michael reminded me of Jim Morrison. The Australian invasion had happened. They had the reptile, they had the serpent, they had the serpent power.
Whoa. Sweet. Good find, mate.
Yeah. So that guy there was Ray Manzarek Jr. from the Doors.
Right.
So he was... Do I just chuck the presentation back on, Lance, if you would?
Yeah, mate. Where is it gone? Here it is.
So there we go. So Ray Manzarek, he was a very influential keyboard. In fact, you could say the Doors sound came from him. And he was quite a good musician as well. He could play a lot of instruments. And he was assigned to the highly selective Army Security Agency as an intelligence analyst. And the whole story was a bit odd, wasn't it, Chris? How he was recruited. Can you remember?
He had long hair, didn't it? And,
he grew
in the army. And they told him to grow his hair, to cut his hair, and he refused, but still ended up staying in the army.
Yeah, he was on a secret base in Okinawa, a Japanese island, and he joined the army. They told him as a photographer, and he ended up at this secret military base. He was drunk one night apparently and signed up in the late 50s.
Yeah, likely story.
Yeah, so the guy at the bottom there, he has a blog, and he told us he sort of was in the army with him, and he became quite a semi-famous actor in the 70s and 80s. And he wrote a blog called "In the Army with Ray," and he told one of the listeners sent it in when they heard we were doing some of the Doors stuff, and it very similar to Lee Harvey Oswald's story, very very similar, which I'll come on to in a second. And so he was it was part of the National Security Agency, was the base that he was on.
Right.
And so the guy that ran it, a guy called Admiral Lawrence Hugh Frost, would probably have known Jim Morrison's dad, Admiral George Morrison, in the US Navy.
You would have thought so.
And the fact that Manzarek was put into this Army Security Agency should ring us MKUltra alarm bells, because as Chris said, he didn't want to perform there. He didn't want to do what they were telling him, so they actually put him in a stockade. They didn't kick him out, and he were allowed to grow his hair long and a big handlebar moustache, and he looked like a Hell's Angel. This is on an army base, a secret army base.
Right.
This is the story that this guy was telling.
This is weird.
It's very weird, yeah. So he came. They actually allowed him out. Now, he was only in the army for about a year or 18 months, and they let him out. And he actually ended up in Cambodia, shipping heroin out, still in the army, right? And cannabis. Never got arrested or anything. Just to build up this mythology, I reckon, the hippie dream mythology. And bear in mind, to get into this army security as an analyst, you have to be cleared by the CIA and the FBI. And they let him in because he's got a Polish background. So they thought that they wanted him to obviously analyse the behind the curtain, if you like. Sorry, Chris.
No, I'm going to say that interview got weird as well, didn't it, Don, when he said, when he found out Jim Morrison played that last set, probably the last bit he played, then he went to Paris, didn't he? He said he went to Paris. Yeah. And then he found out he died because he hadn't heard from him. So he flew off to Paris to look for what had happened, and then found out he'd already been buried. And it was just fucking weird, because he was supposed to be his best mate. It was just a very sketchy, weird... I mean, it sounded to me like he wasn't even dead, Jim Morrison.
It's a very, very strange... I suggest people watch that podcast we did, the Doors one, the Huxley Brave New World Order, Doors of Deception.
Got Jim Morrison on the thumbnail.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It sort of freaks you out a little bit, because I mean, these are secret listening bases that they put this guy on, and he's a military intelligence analyst, and they allow him to grow his hair long and grow a handlebar moustache. That tells me he's going undercover somewhere and sell drugs. And then he ends up at University of California.
You said he looked like a biker, Dom.
Yes.
Maybe he was
it
trying
sounds
to
like
penetrate some biker gangs.
Maybe.
It sounds like the kind of cover story that would be described like to hide someone's identity of what they were actually doing. Yeah. But also, like if you were a proper 007 character, yeah, I was on an army base, but I looked like a hippie. Then I was selling
like
drugs.
hippie before hippies existed, though.
And as before hippies existed, he was a hippie. You're talking late 50s, early 60s here.
Maybe he spent some time in the Middle East.
Yeah, as punishment, he was shipped out to Laos, which is where he started selling drugs. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. Anyway, then after he left the army, pre-army, he enrolled in University of California, then left and bummed out, and went into the army then in 1961 or whatever it was. And then when he came out of the army, 63-ish, he decided to go back into the university again and transferred to the Department of Motion Pictures. And that's where he met Jim Morrison and his future wife, or Morrison's wife. Honestly, it's a strange story. Anybody would have to be off their head to think that just happened randomly.
Yeah, right.
Well, they solidified it in an Oliver Stone film, didn't
they? Yeah, they did. Yeah. But I'll tell you. I'm just going to tell you that this. I'm going to read this out because this is what we put into that podcast about Lee Harvey Oswald. Right. This on its own is a mad, incredible story. But it's like a sheep dipping exercise. That's what it reminded me of. And when you see the whole Doors story, you can see the construct. And interestingly, Harvey Oswald also worked at a Japanese base in the late 50s. Oswald's training was a secret radar operator similar to Manzarek, which required security clearance by the same intelligence agencies. A May 57 document stated that Oswald was granted final clearance to handle classified matter up to and including confidential, and after careful checks of local records had disclosed no derogatory data on him, right? So that's his clearance. He was given military occupational speciality of aviation electronics operator. In 1959, Oswald met future author Kerry Wendell Thornley. Now, this story gets very weird, so just bear with me. Who was also in the Marine Corps with Oswald. He's known as the co-founder, along with childhood friend Greg Hill, of Discordianism, a kind of cult. Thornley was also known as Omar Khayyam Ravenhurst, or simply Lord Homar. Raised as a Mormon, Kerry Wendell Thornley shifted his ideological focus frequently in rivalry with any serious countercultural figure in the 1960s. That sounds like an intelligence operation, a counter-culture operation. Among the subjects he closely scrutinized throughout his life was atheism, anarchism, objectivism, neo-paganism, Buddhism. He went through the lot. And he also the Church of the Subgenius, which is another story on its own, because they preach to somebody called Bob. How fucking mad's that anyway? That's even going totally left of centre. Back to Oswald and Thornley. So Thornley, right, met Oswald. Oswald was discharged from the Marines. Guess what date it was discharged? September 11th, 1959.
Michael.
Oswald then travelled to the Soviet Union.
Gosh, Michael.
So Oswald left the Marines and was allowed to travel to the Soviet Union with all these secrets. All right? On the September the 11th. He had just turned 20, so he was 19. Anyway, Kerry Thornley is known for his manuscript, The Idle Warriors, which was based on the activities of his Marine acquaintance, Lee Harvey Oswald, which he wrote in 1962. This was a year before the assassination of JFK. He wrote a book about Lee Harvey Oswald.
What?
Yes. You can see it on Amazon. It's on Amazon. The book is called The Idle Warriors, and it's about Lee Harvey Oswald. How weird's that?
That is next level insane.
It's absolutely nuts, that, isn't it? Anyway, let's. I could go on about that, but we'll be here for hours if I go through all this stuff.
There you go, Michael.
That's better.
Is that better?
Yeah. Emily Blunt.
So we've all heard of Emily Blunt, and I think she's an ideal. We mentioned her in a talk we did, didn't we, Chris? Because we went through all the Oppenheimer actors, and she stood out quite a lot. She's her grandfather was Major General Peter Blunt, businessman, obviously army officer. He was present at the signing of the unconditional German surrender in 1945. He joined the Allied Control Commission in Germany, and then was an inspector at Bletchley Park, and was also a director of Associated Newspapers, which included the Daily Mail, Mail Online, all that type of stuff. Emily's great uncle was Major General Thomas Anthony Richardson. So again, going back to the Dave McGowan books, she's also got a military background, quite high up military, and he's the eldest son, this guy, of another Major General, T.W. Richardson, who married into the Fry family, daughter of Professor Dennis Butler Fry. Emily's uncle is Crispin Jeremy Rupert Blunt. He was married up until, I think, August 2010. Then he announced he was leaving his wife to come to terms with his homosexuality. And he's an MP, this guy. He was, during a parliamentary debate in 2016, he admitted he uses poppers. The debate was discussing banning them, along with other legal highs.
Oh, was he campaigning not to ban them?
By the sound of it. I out myself as a user of poppers, he said.
Oh, I think I might have seen a clip of that. I saw it, like, when you're scrolling through reels and you just know no context 30-second videos. That came up, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So, Felicity Blunt, I think it's her sister, is literary agent to Curtis Brown Group. And she's married to Stanley Tucci. I don't know if you remember that American actor, bald guy, really good actor actually. Yeah, the Curtis Brown Group, chuffing hell, they're a massive talent agency. They basically own a lot of the major stars, comedians like Jim Carrey, Dave Chappelle, Will Ferrell, Ben Stiller. That's on their roster of professional who they've got under contract. And I actually looked at all these people, not the ones I've just mentioned, more of them. How many of them have got mental issues? And every single one of them had been diagnosed with some sort of mental issue who was on their roster. I know that's a totally different conversation, but so going back to the Assassin's Creed, that's like they're like Manchurian candidates, because you look at Ben Stiller, he was in Ukraine, wasn't he? Look at Jim Carrey, what's happened to him with his was it his wife or his girlfriend or something like that? Anyway.
Yeah, something happens, and then like every time he gets interviewed now, it's like he just smoked a pipe of DMT.
He went to the mountain, mate.
Yeah,
he went to the mountain.
Yeah, and I don't think he ever came back.
No. Her brother is Sebastian Blunt, and he's known for Edge of Tomorrow, is it? Film?
Oh, that's quite good, that Edge of Tomorrow. I quite
anyway, he's
that.
known for, he's an actor as well. But her husband, you said you knew this guy, didn't you, Chris? John Krasinski?
Yeah, it's the guy who was in The Office, him there, who was in The Quiet Place with her.
Yes, I
think
know.
he wrote it, didn't he, and directed it, if I remember right.
Right.
He got famous from the American version of The Office.
Right.
Yeah, he played Jim.
Well, he was also like Matt Damon, pushing the spearages and the lockdowns and things like that. He was also he was named by Time as one of the 100 most influential people. Never heard of him, so he wasn't that influential. Yeah,
this guy was named as one of the 100 most influential people.
Yeah.
What, in America?
Yeah.
In our experience, that means when they're doing that, it means they're the most signed up to the system people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're telling you who signed up. Time is owned by World Economic Forum Young Global leader Mark Benioff, who owns Salesforce. Time magazine. He seemed to get richer and richer the more money he gave away as a philanthropist.
Full-on rapist.
Yeah. So we mentioned this guy.
33 million people in Britain are mentally ill. No, but not.
We mentioned this guy last time, if you remember, Christopher Lee, and I thought I'd add a bit more to it because I'd missed, again, he skipped over a lot of the stuff. But yeah, he was an intelligence officer as well, and he assisted in the UN War Crimes Commission for the Allied governments after World War II. Maybe he could have done a bit of a job for what's happened after 2020. His stepfather was also a captain in the intelligence corps. These are Mockingbird characters. That's what they look like to me, or lifetime actors, as Mark calls them. Lee said that in that interview. Can you remember that video we watched about the satanic ceremonies will be going on everywhere tonight? He also said, Lance, you picked up on it, that somebody said he had 20,000 satanic books, and he didn't say it. And he said, I've got maybe whatever. What did he say? 3 or 5 or something like that. And but he was talking in thousands.
3,000 or 5,000 satanic books.
Yeah.
Yes.
But additional information on him is his full name is Sir Christopher Frank Carandine Lee, son of Lieutenant Colonel Geoffrey Trollope Lee.
I mean, that whole thing just sounds shady. Doesn't it?
60th King's Rifle Corps and his wife, Contessa Estelle Marie, maiden name Cardini de Saranzo. His mother was a famous Edwardian beauty who was painted by Sir John Lavery, as well as Oswald Burley and Olive Schnell. Must have been some sort of royal painters and sculptors. Lee was a younger brother of Zandra Carandini, Walter. She married her second husband, Sir Dermot Humphrey de Trafford, 6th Baron, British banker, businessman and baronet. Zandra had 2 daughters from a previous marriage, British actress Harriet and Charlotte. So I looked into them. They're quite famous actresses, actually. Harriet is now Dame Harriet Mary Walter. She's a prolific British actress. Their great-grandmother was English opera star Marie Carandini, Marchioness of Saranzo. Born Maria Burgess, her father claimed a close relationship with Percy Bysshe Shelley, whose second wife was Mary Shelley, author of Frankenstein. So they're related into all that family, or friends with that. Lee then went on to play Frankenstein. In The Curse of Frankenstein.
He's well suited for the role. He was typecast.
But yeah. So his lineage also goes back to Charlemagne, the Holy Roman Empire, etc. And he's also a cousin of Ian Fleming, the James Bond, if you want to play Video 6 for a bit of a breather.
Okay, sure. Video 6. Here we go.
currently 542 peasants.
No.
Please put that thing away. Is that the real gun?
I wish it was. It's not. I think there were 2 or 3 made, one of which was complete. You couldn't take it apart. One which actually fired a flash, and one which did, in fact, take apart, as this one does. But if I do that now, I'll never get it together again.
No.
It used to take me so long to put it together in the picture, which was made about 22 years ago, I think, something like that.
So it's probably best that it stays intact.
I think it's best that it stays like that.
Rests safely by your side.
It was made by some fans, as a matter of fact, which was a really extraordinary thing to do, and very kind of them. They made an exact replica and sent it to me.
A wonderful thing for you to have and keep.
Well, I walked into the street in Dallas when I was promoting the film many, many years ago, Dallas of all places, and I forgot that I was carrying something which to the eyes of people in the street looked lethal. In fact, what happened was there was a very nervous and very angry policeman who caught sight of me walking out of the hotel onto the pavement to get into the car to go to the TV studio, carrying that. And he literally threw down on me.
He didn't know to clutch his neck or get a bulletproof vest on.
He did that and said, drop it. I said, it's not a gun, you know, it's not a gun. He said, sure, drop it. In Dallas.
I'm not surprised.
Well,
take your life into your own hands, literally. Now, you've been quoted as saying that you know Bond better than most. Now, why is that?
Because Ian Fleming was my cousin, and we used to talk a lot together about his stories, and of course the central character, James Bond, and indeed about all the heavies, the villains, call them what you like, the bad people, his adversaries. And I can tell you one thing, that as far as I know, there's not one single name given to Bond's adversary which is not a real name. I mean, I have met a man called Scaramanga. In fact, there was a boy at Eton with Ian called Scaramanga, whom he disliked intensely, and so he made him the heavy in his book. And I'd met a Mr. Goldfinger, and I'd met a Mr. Blofeld, and I know that there are people in the East who are called No. So he certainly made up some of the ladies' names. We won't go into that. And as far as the men were concerned, though, they existed
They
as
all
names.
existed.
Straight from the horse's mouth.
Straight from the horse's mouth, straight from an intelligence agent's mouth. But the Fleming family are interesting, you know. I know we know that Peter Fleming and Ian Fleming, blah, blah, blah. But they were quite large, a banking family. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't.
Scottish Finances, they own the Merchant Bank, or owned the Merchant Bank. They were the founders of Robert Fleming and Co., which was a contemporary of J.P. Morgan. And they were close business associates of the Schiff family, Jacob Schiff of Kunloeb and Schiff and Co. Fleming was also, he worked on both sides of the Atlantic. And they were from Oxfordshire. Mark might know him, on a 2,000-acre estate. His father was Valentine Fleming, and he was a grandfather of novelist Ian Fleming and Peter Fleming. So they're quite a old family of these. I'm not going to go into it, otherwise we will be around for quite a while. But they sold that business, I think in the early 2000s, for about $7 billion.
Nice.
Robert Fleming and Co. To Chase Manhattan Bank. So the Flemings aren't just authors. But one interesting story on Ian Fleming, who was obviously naval intelligence. When he was younger, he was a bit of a playboy. And in 1927, his mother wanted him to go into the Foreign Office, but he was a bit wayward, let's say. So she sent him to Kitzbühel in Austria, to a small private school run by...
I know Kitzbühel well.
Yeah, lovely place, isn't it? Run to the Alderian principles, by two disciples of a psychologist called Alderian, who were a former British spy named Erin Dennis and his novelist wife, Phyllis Bottom. Erin Forbes Dennis, British diplomat, used to work firstly in Marseille and then in Vienna as a passport control officer. This was a cover for his real role as MI6 head of station, with a responsibility for Austria-Hungary and Yugoslavia. Phyllis Bottom studied individual psychology under Alfred Adler while in Vienna. Alfred Adler worked with Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung and was a core member of the Vienna Psychoanalytic Society, and Freud was president.
Wow, that's a pretty important link right there.
Yeah. Adler enjoyed his success and celebrity, and he built a school of psychotherapy and a unique personality theory. Oh, that's what he practiced. In 1960, Ian Fleming wrote to Phyllis Bottom and said, "My life with you both is one of the most cherished memories, and heaven knows where I should be today without Ernan." So that to me seems like some kind of MKUltra or some kind of retreat where they sent people correcting them, if you like.
Quick, sharp re-education.
But a few famous people went there, actually. Cyril Connolly, CBE, who was the editor of Horizon, who was mates with George Orwell. His family owned Clontarf Castle in Dublin since 1649, etc., etc. Him and George Orwell were at St Cyprian's and Eton together, and were also close friends with Ian Fleming. And Sonia Brownwell, Orwell's second wife, just put the presentation back on. I'm skipping over here. If you would, Lance.
Sure.
So that's Animal Farm. I think it'd be you that knew about this, wasn't it, Chris, originally? Sonia Orwell worked for the Information Research Department, Propaganda Department of the British Foreign Office. And she sold, when George Orwell died, she sold the rights to Animal Farm to the CIA as a propaganda film. So they made that film. The CIA made that famous cartoon.
It's a very poignant cartoon as well. It's been extremely influential, you could argue, on various different generations, that cartoon.
Yeah. So yeah. On another side, I did this earlier on. Daniel Craig, who played James Bond, he's of distant French. He's of French descent, which is counting the French Huguenot minister. A famous guy. I looked him up, and he was linked to the royal family. Daniel Chamer and Sir William Burnby, first Baron, who was a British naval officer. In fact, he was commander-in-chief of Jamaica Station. It's not a bad place to be commander-in-chief, is it? His middle name, Rowton, is called Daniel Rowton Craig. That's got a royal bloodline. His bloodline goes back to Edward III, the Plantagenet, House of Plantagenets. And they ruled the English throne from 1154 to 1485.
Looks weirdly like Putin as well, fine.
He does look weirdly like Putin, yeah. And Geoffrey Plantagenet, his father was Count of Anjou, and his father was called Fulk the Younger, who was King of Jerusalem.
That's a pretty important title, surely, King of Jerusalem.
I would have thought so. Yeah.
That's got to get you some clout in clown world, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Who are you? I'm the King of Jerusalem.
Yeah. But yeah, so... Yeah.
When I was learning about the black nobility, I realised there were these people with titles very much like the King of Jerusalem. Titles, some for lands that didn't really exist. And these are like, the royal families behind the royal families that are for show, sort of thing. And some of the titles were insane. It was a bit like Jimmy Savile's title,
Grandmaster Ginny.
No,
Let me tell you, unbelievable.
You know, like his full title was like
massive.
the third pontificate of the Order of Saint Gregory the Great, etc., etc. When his title went on for ages, when someone properly read it out, just insane. It's Knights of the Realm business, isn't it? Really?
It is, yeah. Game of Thrones and stuff.
Yep.
Matt Damon's father, I mean, everyone, these people, obviously, they just become famous actors because of their talent. But he's the son of Kent Telford Damon, a stockbroker and Wall Street banker and film producer. Damon attended Harvard University, and he's obviously best mates with Ben Affleck. He was a member of the Delphic Club, one of Harvard's select final clubs. The Delphic Club is an all-male social club at Harvard University, founded in 1846.
I bet no weird stuff goes on there at all, does it?
Well, its slogan is 3 times 3, long life to thee.
Wow. That deserves a button.
Gosh. He's also a direct descendant of one of the Mayflower passengers, and also his line goes back all the way through the British royal family, Edward III, etc., and into the Plantagenet bloodline again. In fact, Edward III was Matt Damon's 21st great-grandparent. His cousins with J.P. Morgan, Benedict Arnold, the Arnold family, Alan Foster Dulles, who were the Foster Dulles. He wrote the Warren. He was he headed up the Warren Commission for JFK, and Alan Dulles, I might have gotten the wrong way around, was the first director of the CIA.
Yeah, one Dulles was, that's for sure.
They're 8th cousins. But I think, didn't Matt Damon play him in that film, Chris? That he didn't play him, but he was a CIA agent, wasn't he? In what was that one with Robert De Niro? Can you remember that film he played with Robert De Niro?
Oh, The Shepherd, The Good Shepherd.
Yeah, Good Shepherd, really good film as well. That
I've never actually watched it. Didn't he show the old Masonic,
Yeah,
pointing to the Masons and stuff like that.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, didn't I direct it? I've never seen it.
Skull and Bones. It shows him going into Skull and Bones.
That's right. Yeah.
Might have to watch that.
The Good Shepherd. You should watch.
I always mean to watch it. Always says it's really good, and it shows you initiation into Skull and Bones, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. His 9th cousin of the Bushes, Walt Disney. 10th cousin of Taylor Swift, as I mentioned earlier, and 19th cousin 2 times removed of King Charles III. And his best mate is also Ben Affleck is also his 10th cousin.
So he's closer. He's a bit closer to Ben Affleck than what was it, Albert III?
Yeah, but he also pushes a lot of the UN and World Economic Forum nonsense that we see in his charity work. He co-founded one campaign with a guy called Bobby Shriver III and Bono, along with a coalition of 11 non-profit humanitarian and advocacy organisations, including Data, Care, World Vision, Oxfam, Bread for the World. I can believe these names. All the funding was provided by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So Bobby Shriver is actually a nephew of JFK and RFK. So, I think he's one of RFK's daughter's sons. In addition to the long-term relationship with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the campaign is funded through organisations like Apple, Bank of America, Bloomberg, Cargill, Caterpillar Foundation, Coca-Cola, Ford Foundation, Merck, Roche, Rockefellers, Salesforce, Open Society Foundations. So
Classics.
All the same classics, yeah. And bear in mind, Salesforce was founded by Oracle executive Mark Benioff, who I mentioned earlier. And Salesforce is the 61st largest business. It's worth $153 billion. And Oracle was founded by Larry Ellison. And Oracle was named after a CIA, I'll call it operation, a job that they were given. So the project was called Oracle, and he named the company after it. And Larry Ellison's first customer was the CIA. Yeah. Could go on. The Skull Foundation, they were the ones that funded the Contagion film.
Yeah, you bet they did.
He owned Participant Films. I don't think it's open anymore. I think they closed it down. And Participant Films also produced Algorithms, A Convenient Life.
No way.
Yes. Yeah.
What was it? What are they called?
Participant Films. Yeah.
If you think about the connotations of that, because if they're doing predictive programming, what do you need for that? You need a willing participant. to sit there and ingest the predicted programming. So then they help to play it out. What a piss take! They called it participant film.
And it's a shit name for a film company.
Yeah, rubbish. It doesn't roll off the tongue at all. There's no other reason apart from take the piss with a name like that.
Yeah.
PF.
In fact, it said
paedophile.
In participant co-produced Contagion to raise awareness about the dangers proposed by pandemics. Skoll wanted the film to be scientifically sound and encouraged funding of medical experts. In 2020, following the 91 Diva pandemic, media coverage noted it was shocking in its accuracy.
Shockingly uncanny.
So they're working with the World Economic Forum, yada yada yada, and yeah.
It's almost like they were just given their script. Was that thing? What was the thing from 2008? Was it Cladex or dot?
That one. Cladex, yeah.
Yeah, Cladex, where they literally just had like a 24-page like blueprint of exactly how Divic 91 would play out with every aspect of it. It even predicted there'd be a rogue president like Trump who would suggest these other. It was crazy accurate. It's almost like they just gave the script of that to the people in Contagion, and so like, can you just build something around this, please?
Yeah,
that's how this shit plays out.
Interestingly, current members of this NGO that Damon set up with Bono and the Kennedys is former Prime Minister David William Donald Cameron. Baron Cameron of Chipping Norton, don't you know? Council of Foreign Relations and member of Conservative Friends of Israel. Descendant of King Henry VII, William IV, and descendant of George III. Also, Laurie Summers, who actually came up with Project Lifelog, and he was a young global leader in 1963. Project Lifelog turned into Facebook. I think you remember that one. Yeah, so many of these people are part of this. And also, that leads into this H2O Africa Foundation, co-founded by Matt Damon to raise awareness about clean water initiatives in Africa, and we know where all that stuff goes. And this is that guy. Can you remember this guy, Chris?
Yeah.
Horrible guy from Nestle that said they should. How can he word it now?
Commodity. You should have to pay.
Yeah, exactly. It shouldn't be. It should be a fine. Water should be made into a fine. I'll read it.
What, like commoditized or yeah.
Well, can you read that? When it says
okay,
Peter
right.
Burbeck left me. If you read that statement there.
You want me to read it, or Chris?
Yeah, you read it, yeah.
Okay, water is, of course, the most important raw material we have today in the world. It's a question of whether we should privatise the normal water supply for the population. And there are two different opinions on this matter. One opinion, which I think is extreme, is represented by the NGOs who's bang on about declaring water as a public right. Whoa, that means that as a human being, you should have no right to water. That's an extreme solution. No shit. The other view says that water is a foodstuff like any other, and like any other foodstuff, it should have a market value. Personally, I believe it's better to give a foodstuff a value so that we're all aware it has a price, and then the one should take the specific measures for part of the population that has no access to this water. What does that
I remember
mean?
this guy saying this, man.
And
I've seen him on stage.
There are many different possibilities there. That is so ambiguous.
For that thing that falls out of the sky.
Yeah, free.
Who's fucking dead eyes?
But
they already put in sanctions on some states in the US that you're not allowed to collect. You're only allowed to collect certain amounts of rainwater because you're taking it from the land. Basically, that's what their justification is.
I think it's frowned upon here, to be honest with you. I don't think you can catch water. There's rules against digging for wells and things, isn't there? You can't.
Yeah, but I mean, you're still allowed to go and buy a water butt from the garden centre and stuff like that.
Right,
that catches water. It's not that outlawed.
He's on the board of trustees of the World Economic Forum.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
He's just another dirty fucker.
So they set up water.org, co-founded by Matt Damon, and a guy called Gary White of Water Partners. That's again. I know this is slightly off piece, but I look at these as assassins as well because they're basically water assassins. They're killing people because they're taking the rights of everybody to have water.
Also, it's quite. I mean, I know it sounds obvious, but what's he got? What's Matt Damon? He's an actor. What's he got to do with any of this? Like Clooney.
It's the same as Bono spouting off about
out.
stuff he does. He's a musician. Same as this dude. He's an actor.
Yeah. So water.org. The project were funded through grants, loans, combination of the two. Its loan was called Water Credit, loan program, water credit. He used the concept of microcredit to fund water sanitation projects. Water partners receive grants from organisations such as PepsiCo Foundation, the Michael and Susan Dell Foundation. Dell was a young global leader in 1993, by the way, along with Sir Bono as well. Bono's been knighted. And he's worth $104 billion for giving laptops away. Dell serves on the foundation board of the World Economic Forum as well. And he serves as an advisor to the 91 Divot Technology Task Force. Gary White, co-founder of Water.org, was named advisor to the Clinton Global Initiative and was named one of the Schwab Foundation Social Entrepreneurs of 2012. Never heard of
Did you say the Schwab Foundation?
Yes, the Schwab. It's the Schwab Foundation as well as the World Economic Forum.
Oh, wow. He's got, just in case he hadn't penetrated everyone's cabinet quite enough.
Yes.
Let me get one more foundation out.
Yeah. So
Wow.
play video 7. Give us a breather again.
Video 7 coming up.
Matt Damon at the World Economic Forum. Getting his prize. His Crystal Award.
US actor Matt Damon received an award at the World Economic Forum in Davos on Tuesday night in his capacity as co-founder of Water.org. The American non-profit organisation is committed to providing safe drinking water and sanitation to people in the developing world. In his speech at a ceremony honouring him and 3 other artists, Damon jokingly thanked the Hollywood Foreign Press Association for the big honour.
This is a really, really big honor, and I want to thank the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. Wait, sorry, that's the wrong speech. This is the Golden Globe speech I never got to give. I know I didn't win, but to be honest, I kind of want to give this speech anyway. It's pretty good. There's this part where I talk about what it was like working with Michael Douglas, and I get kind of emotional. It's really good. And then I get a big kiss from Bono. Anyway, I don't know. I'll do that next year, maybe. I've got a different speech I want to give tonight. This
Not
really
Schwab's
is a great
wife,
honor
by the
to
way.
receive the Crystal Award.
Oh, really?
On a more serious note, Damon asked the audience of the world's
there.
political and business elite to get on board.
We are just getting started, and we need you on board. Because access to water, fundamental as that is not an end in itself. Access to water is access to education, access to work, access above all to the kind of future we want for our own families and all the members of our human family. Thank you again.
The annual Crystal Award ceremony traditionally marks the opening of the WEF and is hosted by Hilda Schwab, co-founder of the Schwab Foundation for Social Entrepreneurship and wife of WEF founder Klaus Schwab.
And she's from an ancient bloodline as well, and they own quite a large business. It turns something like €3 billion over a year.
Of course,
it's into robotics and stuff like that.
Was
that was my robotic fucking movement.
It's robotics.
I were hoping you hadn't noticed that, Chris.
You didn't even mean to do that, did you?
Floppy robot. Yeah. Interestingly, right, Jason Bourne, right, it was written by a guy called an author called Robert Ludlum, who was also part of the Marine Corps. So he was also got a military background. And I was telling Chris about this. He had an odd death, right? And it was knocking on, bear in mind. But he sold millions of books, like 70, 80 million books.
You used to read his books, didn't you, Don?
Yeah, really good author. Until he died and they started finishing off his manuscripts and they were shit. But anyway, he died at his home in Naples, right, while recovering from severe burns caused by a mysterious fire, which occurred on February 10th, 2001. So what happened was his wife, his second wife, that sounds like a bit of a nut job, and I don't think he'd left her in his will, or there was something going on about his will, and he'd set on fire in his chair, right, and he died of these burns, and she didn't ring the police when he was still smoking in his chair for about 2 hours or something ridiculous.
Wow.
And she never got arrested for it. Yeah,
like
but he had a lot of friends. Yeah,
spontaneous human combustion or something.
But he had a lot of friends. His wife, his first wife, they were, and his college roommates went on to be intelligence officers. And several of his best mates worked for MI6 and the CIA. And his first wife Mary, had close ties to the Pentagon as well. So what I'm trying anyway. Yeah. But another interesting one is, you know, the Julia Stiles. Can you remember that actress who was in The Bourne Identity? The girl who worked. She was sort of on Jason Bourne's side, the blonde-haired girl.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah. Well, she's got a royal bloodline back to King Richard I. So I wonder if they. It always amazes me this, because do they actually sit down when they're in these films and go, "Do you know you're my cousin"?
Maybe they don't even know. Maybe they don't know. Like we said, maybe they're all the little bastard kids brought together at the same time. But even the Jason Bond films on their own, MKUltra films basically, aren't they? We watch them as entertainment, but then you tell someone MKUltra is real, they call you a nut job.
Yeah.
I'd argue the entire thing's MKUltra.
Yeah, I would as well.
Yeah, the fact that we're watching it as entertainment.
Any media, like all of it.
Well, I think
whether it's entertainment or not, I'd say the whole thing's.
This is why it's called Assassin's Creed, because like Dom
propaganda.
said, assassins come in many shapes and sizes, whether it's through MKUltra mind control, whether it's literally shooting you with a gun, poisoning your food, you know, the list is endless.
Yeah. Just put that presentation back on, Loss, if you would.
Yes, mate.
They're all the sponsors. J-Lo and Ben Affleck will come to next. So that's... there's a few things here to talk about. Jennifer Garner, Ben Affleck's first wife, she was in... What was that film called, Chris, that programme? That she was
Alias,
in, Jennifer Garner. Alias, about a CIA. And she did a CIA recruitment advert in the early 2000s based on Alias. I don't know if you've seen it.
J.J. Abrams produced, I believe.
Right.
I never watched it, but yeah.
No,
what was it called?
Alias. It was like
Alias.
She was like a CIA agent. Yeah. I never watched it once, but
I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
You'll remember it being on it where it went on for ages. It was quite a big thing, but it was produced by J.J. Abrams, and it was well known that the CIA were involved in producing it. I think, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
It was literally a recruitment film, TV series.
Yeah. But I mean, we'll play that video in a sec. But Ben Affleck apparently had an abusive upbringing. His father was an alcoholic and what have you.
He looks like a troubled man, to be fair.
Yeah, he does look like a troubled man. I wouldn't say he's the most talented actor either, would you?
No, I mean, he's all right, but yeah, I know what you mean. But he looks troubled. I mean, I don't know. He's just got that look in his eyes.
Yeah.
And also, Jennifer Garner played Electra Assassin as well.
Right. I mean, you were saying, weren't you, that Hollywood's got this infatuation with assassins?
Yeah, well, I mean, Lance, what do you think? I mean, the amount of films about assassins and serial killers, obviously, but the amount that come out about assassins is beyond the pale, isn't it? I mean, it's literally...
People love that John Wick trilogy.
John Wick, yeah.
Yeah, I tried to watch
It's a genre
one of
reinvented,
those.
isn't it? All the time. What did you think of it? It's too violent, isn't it?
Yeah, there was no.
Like old man.
Yeah, but like to enjoy some like high tech like gun and kicking violence, yeah, you have to have some breaks in between. You can't just be like just killing someone every 10 seconds throughout a whole film and expect people. I couldn't carry on watching it. I wouldn't have minded because the whole sort of lore about the shadowy like assassin organisation, they're basically secret societies, super interesting, mate. But there was just too much killing because it took any emphasis off when you had to kill the final bad guy. Yeah,
that's what they always do with these things, like the Bond films. There's some proper truths woven in there, and then they overshadow the good story with a load of pointless violence, don't they? So, it numbs your mind. And you come out of a Bond film or a John Wick film, you don't really know what's happened. You can't remember the story.
You could say that's like a double whammy from their point of view. So they get to slip in their predictive programming and their piss taking with the added bonus that you degenerate society by desensitizing them to really bad violence.
Yeah, and you're cheering basically in another version of the film, you're cheering along the murderer.
Yes.
And really vying for him. Yes, go on, get him all.
Very good point.
It's weird that, isn't it? And everybody does it, don't they? You do cheer on for the...
when you think he's shooting another soul in the head.
If you think about it, by default,
by the parents.
The good guy that makes it all the way to the end, he's by default probably the one that's killed the most people in the film because he's the one that stood standing at the end, and he's the hero. Like you say, he's the biggest murderer.
Yeah, someone mentioned that Stephen Baldwin went on that Patrick Bet-David podcast. Well, it's Jacko mentioned it, and he was talking about how evil Hollywood was Stephen Baldwin, one of the Baldwin.
Another interesting side note, Dom, is in Program to Kill, Dave McGowan's book. He links the serial killers and says they are actually the serial killer story has been used to knock out people that the system needs assassinating.
Right.
I.e., drug dealers who've got out of hand. You know, it's not just. I think he talks about the Boston Strangler. Forget it wrong. It's been a few years since I read it, but he's saying that they weren't just strangled; they were like random people shot dead, like executed, literally. You know,
and they were just hidden
style.
in that.
Yeah,
there was actually a film made. What was that film made? There was a film where a guy went and shot 8 people, and they had to work out why all 8 had been shot, and they worked out that they shot all the 8 people to kill one person.
Yeah,
it was quite a famous film. I can't remember what it was.
I think if I remember rightly, this is just coming back to me. In the Dave McGowan book, he's on about if you were to be a mass murderer, you just shoot someone point blank in the head, you know. But he was saying that in actual reality, they use a low caliber gun, and if you shoot someone in the back head, so the bullet doesn't come out the other end, it rattles around in your head and destroys you. So you've got no chance. And he was saying that that's the caliber of bullet used by these so-called serial killers. And also the story we have of serial killers is not that they go around shooting people. They've got their own knife that they've had for years, and that's the only knife they use. And you know, they're just this lone lunatic. Whereas you got like the son of Sam, which turned out that it was possibly a group. You know, and who's that other guy? He wrote the book, the Program to Kill, on the back of that. Harvey Lee, is it? What was his name? Harvey Lee, and he was the only guy that George Bush Jr., when he was the governor of Dallas, he was. I might be getting this right. He's the only guy that he let off.
Pardoned.
He pardoned, and he said he killed like dozens and dozens of people. He even executed an old woman whose husband used to beat her up. And he said that's what gave him that the serial killer story wasn't quite what we've been told. Henry Lee Lucas. That's
quite interesting, because I remember seeing this documentary ages ago that was putting forward the idea that Jack the Ripper wasn't actually one person, that the whole story had been made up to cover up a group of people that were, well, this thing alleged that it was some secret society that was sacrificing people, basically. And the alleged victims of Jack the Ripper were just bodies that they'd got rid of, and then they invented the Jack the Ripper story to get as a cover up.
So you should speak to John Hamer about that one.
Yeah, definitely. I'd like to get back on the show again.
Yeah, John Hamer, a real good story.
I think it tied in with the Alan Moore version from Hell, didn't it? I think it was a similar kind of angle. That it was a cover up for who was his name? What was that guy? Eddie. He was Eddie, the Prince Eddie, and he'd got a prostitute pregnant, and they were using the Ripper to the prostitutes trying to blackmail the Queen, basically, to the crown.
Right.
That's John Hamer's. I think that was John Hamer's view, and it's also Alan Moore's view in the comic graphic novel From Hell. And the prostitutes are trying to blackmail the crown, so they send out Edward Gull, I think it was in the comic, to kill them all, but make him look like a mass murderer. Yeah.
Right.
But why we told that story?
It's an interesting story. You should get him on to tell that story. But it is that an awful story, but an interesting one. Anyway, Ben Affleck he's also related to Nathan Hill, America's first and most well-known spy, and he comes from a long line as well, like all these other. But he's kinship. He's cousins with Humphrey Bogart, Raquel Welch, Kyra Sedgwick, Bacon's wife, Glenn Close, Mark Wahlberg, Brooke Shields, Shirley Temple, and also obviously Jonathan Chapman, who was a.k.a. Johnny Appleseed. Have you ever heard of that term, Lance? Johnny Appleseed.
Yeah. I've heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, and he planted a load of apple trees. It's called Johnny Appleseed in Pennsylvania.
In early days of America, when he's throwing apple seeds everywhere. Trees everywhere.
And he's also, I know it surprised everybody, but goes back through William the Conqueror, Robert I, Alfred the Great, Charlemagne, blah, blah, blah. That's Ben Affleck. But they're also pushing the woke story as well. But agenda. Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck's daughter is now a boy. And that's Jennifer Lopez's daughter there with the hydrangea on her head.
She's not though, is she? She's not a boy. Let's be honest.
No. But she's got no... she's non-binary.
She's mentally ill.
Yeah. Play number 9, Willie.
If you were born into this kind of stuff, it would probably drive you mentally.
The problem is you're a fucking retard.
Which sorry, have I got to play another video?
Number 9, we'll go to the Wachowski brothers.
Okay, Wachowski brothers.
Did you have to realise we're live on YouTube? When he does that every time.
We're live on YouTube.
Is that number 10? Is number 10 Vax Assassins?
Number 9. Number 9.
Oh, number 9.
Yeah.
When Caitlyn Jenner revealed her truth as a transgender woman in the blockbuster 2015 interview with Diane Sawyer, it marked a cultural watershed. The former Olympic hero and reality TV celebrity, formerly known as Bruce, captivated audiences with her candid account of lifelong gender dysphoria she had privately grappled with. The Wachowski siblings, Lana and Lily Wachowski, the visionary filmmakers behind the hugely popular and influential Matrix series of films, have played a pivotal role in challenging and transforming Hollywood's gender norms. Lana's transition in 2012, followed by Lily's coming out as non-binary in 2016, marked significant moments for transgender visibility in the entertainment industry. Their courage to live authentically, coupled with their groundbreaking work, has had a profound impact on perceptions of gender diversity in creative spaces. The Wachowskis' journey is not just about their personal transitions, but also about their contributions to cinema that continue to push the boundaries of storytelling and representation.
Hello, my name is Finn Affleck. I'm reading verse 8. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 8. Better is a little with righteousness than large income with injustice.
So that was Ben Affleck's daughter coming out. The first time she came out was at her granddad's funeral. Talking quite a deep voice. But anyway.
It's a bit selfish, isn't it? I would say.
Yeah. It's a main character syndrome, isn't it? Coming out of someone's funeral. The big reveal.
Yeah.
It's all about me today.
Coming from you, like.
Just chuck the presentation again. Yeah, love your granddad, yeah.
Right, presentation, sorry.
Sorry, mate. So yeah, the Wachowski brothers. That was a question. This was on in the mail, so I mean... It says here, why are so many A-list celebrities' children trans and non-binary?
Because they've told them to.
Quite a question.
Good question.
Quite a good question to be asked there. I'm sure they don't answer it either.
Well, it's kind of funny. I wonder. Do you know how old this is? This headline.
No, I don't. I didn't get a date, but it's recent. It's because they're married, so they haven't been married that long, have they?
So it's within the last couple of years. But realistically, like at this stage, if you were a proper normie and you were just into celebrity culture as your thing, following these people in magazines and online, wouldn't you really be noticing now that all of their kids pretty much are trans?
Lance, if you had a kid, would you, because you worship these celebrities, would you start thinking, I wouldn't mind my kid being trans as well?
Well, look, all these fucking multi-millionaire A-listers have got trans kids. Why isn't my kid trans?
It's true.
Who's that Doctor Who guy? What's he called? David Tennant. He were ranting and raving at some LGBT do because I think their son or daughter's going through the change, but he's married. His wife
going through the change.
Is the daughter of another Doctor Who. What were he called? That Peter, whatever he's called.
Sutcliffe?
No, yeah. Anyway,
he's Peter Davison.
Is it Davison?
Peter Davison. How, what are the odds on one Doctor Who marrying the daughter of another Doctor Who?
Might have met at a Doctor Who convention.
In a TARDIS.
Who's that? For my daughter. Yeah. He's all right.
Yeah. So, I mean, I dug a few of these people. Obviously, got the Wachowski brothers, which will...
That bald guy definitely shouldn't have done the change.
No.
The other one maybe got away with it a little bit, but that other guy was just a big...
What, with parrot on her head?
That other one was just a big old bald guy on it.
Yeah. We've got Lana Wachowski, born Larry, Big Larry, and Lily Wachowski, born Andy.
Yeah, the one on the left definitely makes a better woman than the one on the
right. I don't think much to either of them, mate. Russell Brand came out.
It's clearly racist.
Russell Brand came out saying his daughter was genderless. Megan Fox, she said, when I became pregnant with Noah, I could feel through my mother's intuition, I suppose, that he was not subscribing to gender stereotypes. So I decided to provide an environment for him early on that would allow him to discover how he wanted to express himself.
Wardrobe full of girls' clothes, more like.
Yeah. Fox described her stepfather as being verbally, mentally, and emotionally abusive until his death. She revealed in an interview that she developed an eating disorder in her adolescence and struggled with manic depression, the latter of which ran in my family. So there was definitely some wrestling with chemical imbalances going on.
Wow.
The problem is you're a fucking retard.
She's one of them, Megan Fox, though, isn't she? Why is she famous? Because to my knowledge, I've only known her being about 3 films, Transformers, and not much else. It's funny how some of these so-called celebs are lauded up, but they don't actually produce much, do they?
No. Well, Jennifer Aniston, she's another one. What films has she actually been in?
Well, she's in Friends, wasn't she?
Yeah, but apart from that, what a shit. Anyway.
Friends is still playing on so many like TV sets right now. It's just the most.
I did quite enjoy Bruce Almighty.
Yeah,
what, the film?
Yeah,
Jennifer
Friends was funny.
Aniston
Friends were very well written, wasn't it? Friends.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, the Kardashians. So the Kardashian family. I don't know if you knew this, but David Cameron claims he's related to Kim Kardashian, 13th cousins.
I bet he is.
They share presidential kin as well, with John Adams, John Quincy Adams, Calvin Coolidge, Bushes, and the Trudeaus. Oh, no, sorry. Prime Ministers of Canada, not Trudeau's, Sir Robert Borden. Anyway. They also tied into Ted Danson, Ellen DeGeneres, Cara Sedgwick, Johnny Carson, the science guy Bill Nye, Matt Damon again, Henry Fonda, or the Fonda family. Her father as well represented O.J. Simpson, didn't he? Robert Kardashian.
Mm.
He was the lawyer for O.J. Simpson.
He was looking very gangster in that last picture up there, fighting with white streak through there. I think that was him.
There, in the middle, yeah.
Oh, there's this guy here.
Yeah.
Your mic's gone a bit fuzzy, Dom.
Mine has.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, play number 10, if you would. This is George Clooney. So I'm sorry, any women out there who still think George Clooney's a heartthrob, you might want to smash your TV up when you see this.
It was actually Secretary Clinton.
Sorry, next one.
Ticking time bomb.
Sorry, the next video.
Sorry, number 10, I think that's 11, isn't it?
Oh,
come on, lads.
Sorry. Yeah, replace that video.
That's George Clooney.
Great replacement.
Oh, sorry, I did.
Now, as a filmmaker, do you support mandatory on film sets?
I support period. I think every company should do it. Listen, I don't care. To me, it's really simple. We can look out for one another and take care of one another, or we can not. It's that simple. And all the people who want to talk about their independence and their freedom, you're free to eat until you fall down the stairs, but you're not free to drive. The minute your freedom infringes on everyone else's, then it stops. And so I believe very much in mandating that, as we did, as we do meetings and everything else when a kid wants to go to school. And we'll get there. It'll take some time.
Just to continue on what you were just saying, do you feel any backlash from the anti-vaxxers, and does that ever bother you in any circumstances at all?
No, because the truth of the matter is, I was listening to a podcast the other day about which they screwed up when they first put out, which I didn't remember. I didn't know. I was too young. One factory actually ended up giving a bunch of kids and killing them because they weren't filtering out the formaldehyde. We haven't had any of those problems. It's been a pretty successful rollout. And there were lots of skeptics then, and it took a few years, 3 years, to get their act together. That's what's going to happen here. We'll get our act together, and we'll get it done. We have to, because that's how we get out of it.
I've seen enough.
He's literally speaking like he's working directly for the Britney Spears Corporation.
Look at all the people with masks in the background.
Look at him. See how he's looking at that woman interviewing him. He's schmoozing her, isn't he?
He's been George Clooney, isn't he?
George Clooney acting eyes, isn't he? Yeah. But you can't help but lose a lot of respect when you see these clowns talk like that, because you know they've been told.
He knows, Chris. He knows.
Yeah, he knows. He knows.
I bet he hasn't.
He knows. Yeah, he knows.
He knows what he's been told. I mean, he's extending that conversation. Why would he extend that conversation?
Well, he actually said the polo.
But killed a bunch of kids.
Killed people, and that's all right because we managed.
Just because they screwed up at the factory, they got it wrong.
Yeah, but he also said, you know, we talked him round. It took 2 or 3 years. What? So they were concerned because he killed a load of kids, but you talked him round. You know,
killed a bunch of kids.
We got the job done. I think he said we actually got the job done.
They killed a bunch of kids. Oh, that's all right. Killed a bunch of kids, like they grew on trees.
Twat.
Just a bunch of grapes.
Just cattle.
Yeah.
Right here, right now, is where we draw the line.
Assassin's Creed, sheep farm, rise above.
But
TV,
again,
guys.
he was an assassin in a film, wasn't he, Chris? A couple of times, Syriana.
More films, yeah.
What was that? The American, was it?
American Michael.
Quite a good film, that.
You were involved. I think he's got a new one coming out with.
Didn't he shoot his girlfriend in back of head in the American? He did, didn't he?
I can't remember if I.
He did at the beginning. He did.
He's got a new assassin film coming out with Brad Pitt, weirdly, called The Wolves. The Wolves.
Right.
Another assassin.
Obsession
movie.
with the assassins we've got is bizarre, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, when you really think about it, like how many different movies involve an assassin or are based around just assassins.
And
So
an
that's
interesting one, Lance, was it the accountant? Was it? It was a Ben Affleck one, and he's a bit autistic in it. I thought that was an interesting one because they're pushing the autistic thing again. That it's a bit of an advantage if you're autistic, if you're an assassin, you know. And he's really particular about all his bits and pieces. And you know, a bit, but that's how they sold it. You know, he was autistic, or on the spectrum, if you like. But they were selling it. And then there was the recent one on Netflix with Michael Fassbender, done by David Fincher. I don't know if you saw that one, Lance. And at the beginning, when he's lining up his whatever material, guns and whatever, he's giving out these long speeches. And he actually does a Crowley quote and says,
yes, I did watch that. I watched that with the Empress. Yeah.
I clocked it when I watched it. Do as thou will is all of the law. And then he goes, oh, some guy said that once, but just spoos over it. But
yeah.
It's still there.
I remember putting that. I was like, that's a Crowley quote.
That's a Crowley quote. Yeah, I did as well. I watched it with
Fair play.
Madness.
Why does it have to be in there and not even explained? And, you know, there's only a limited amount of people who know where it is. I'm sure David Fincher knew where it meant.
Yeah, standard.
Fassbender did or not, I don't know.
I bet he did.
But again, in that film, Lance, did you notice he's a total selfish narcissist, isn't he? Because there's a bit where he's avenging his girlfriend because they tried to kill his girlfriend. But he gets in, it's like a revenge film for his girlfriend getting it, but he just shoots an innocent taxi driver in the back of head. Who's just a young guy and he's got nothing. And
he was like, he was the hero of the film.
He's the hero of the film. And
was that with Jamie Foxx?
That's Tom Cruise, isn't it? That's Tom Cruise. That.
Oh, yes, it is. It is Tom Cruise. Yeah.
No, it was the one with Fassbender recently. It was only recently on Netflix. But
I can't remember what it's called.
The Hitman. It's called The Hitman.
It's just called The Hitman.
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. But he you know, you think he's going on this revenge spree, and he's the main protagonist, and everyone else. But then he just shoots an innocent.
Do you think that's because psychologically, Chris, they get you to buy in that he's a good guy, and then he does something absolutely awful, and you bought into it now?
Yeah. You're jeering him on. But it jarred me when he, you know, I mean, I'm not saying he should have killed anyone, but he actually just gets some information from a taxi driver and just shoots him in the back of the head. And you're like, whoa, that were a bit... but then you're supposed to be on his side till the end of the film for another hour or so. You're still following the main protagonist, which is him.
Yeah,
like we've said before, Dom,
well.
they've taken the anti-hero to another level, haven't they?
Yes.
Where he's actually the bad guy. Or if you took it from another point of view...
Or it's so confusing that you don't know who the good guys and bad guys are, if you like.
Yeah, and confusion's a good...
I would argue they've been doing this for years. Do you remember?
100%, mate, yeah.
The movie Escape from Alcatraz. Is that in the 70s? Like you were cheering on for the criminals to escape, weren't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
But fundamentally, if you're a peasant and you know you abide by the law and law enforcement, and these guys are criminals.
Yeah, and like I say, the good guys usually kill more people than the bad guys in the film as well.
It's when he seen interviews like that, like what he just did there, he went into character because he went from talking normal to talking like George Clooney acting. When he started scratching his nose and
schmoozing,
yeah,
giving his little crow eyes.
Yeah.
But they would have all been briefed, won't they? They'll all be in agreement. Everyone at Davos there would have been briefed, and that's it.
Yeah.
They're all telling the line.
Talk, 'cause we've got your P Diddy videos.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Is that it?
Put the presentation back on there, lads, if you would. Yeah, sorry, Chris, go on.
Is that why they got the P Diddy videos? Because apparently they vanished. Is that because there's something else coming up, and they've got them all by the?
I saw a photo today of P. Diddy's son walking around in this huge blacked out indoor basketball court that had doors open up and double beds slid out that went into soundproof chambers. He had soundproof chambers with double beds inside a basketball court.
Mm-hmm. Don't you have it? Don't you have that? You've been in your basketball court, Lance?
No, I don't.
All right.
I have them in my dungeon.
I thought everybody had a go-to dungeon in the basketball court.
God, P. Diddy.
Yeah. Oh, there's a man Clooney. I mean, Amal Clooney.
Yeah. Her father is Ramzi Almuddin, a Lebanese Druze from the Al-Adin dynasty in the Shuf district. And she was a young global leader as well.
Oh, what a coincidence.
Yeah, strange that, isn't it? Yeah, she was... she's works for the UN. She... I'm sure... Yeah, she did. She was Julian Assange's representative.
No way.
Yeah. In his fight against extradition. And she was appointed a special envoy on media freedom by the British Foreign and Commonwealth Office, stroke MI5, MI6. And she did a lot of humanitarian work, and he has as well, for US intelligence in Sudan, as Clooney. So, I mean, I'm not going to play that other video because I want to do a Tom Wank's video, but he works for the Council on Foreign Relations anyway. Certainly does.
And he made that film Syriana before Syria were even massively on the radar, didn't he?
Yeah. And that Amal or Aman or whatever you want to call it works for Sullivan and Cromwell, which is a huge. There's a name for them like. Anyway, it's the top 5 or something like that law firm in the world, and they're part of the Council on Foreign Relations as well. They're corporate members of the Council on Foreign Relations. So a lot of the films that he's in mirrors what they're actually like. Syriana mirrors some of the stuff that they do in Africa and Far East. And he produced Argo, and he would have worked with. There's a CIA guy. They've got a liaison guy that works with Hollywood. Forget his name now, but Ben Affleck worked with him, and Matt Damon and Clooney would have worked with him on Argo. Definitely worked with him, the CIA on Argo.
Argo was Ben Affleck fight, wasn't it? Did he produce it as well?
Yeah. No,
right.
Clooney
Ben
produced
Affleck
it.
was in it.
Yeah.
Affleck
Affleck produced it as well. They were co-producers.
Right. He directed it as well, I think.
Yeah. Amel was a young global leader the same year Emmanuel Macron was. So George Clooney's wife. Young global leader with Emmanuel Macron. You might have liked her, actually, her being a bloke.
Macron, that's another raging homosexual.
You don't know who's who, do you?
He pretends he's not.
No, you don't know who's who now. Clooney served as one of the United Nations messengers for peace since 2008.
Wasn't Tony Blair one of those as well?
He was. He was.
Yeah. He was. Well, he's a perfect choice.
Yes.
one of the films that me and Chris pulled up was Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, wasn't it, Chris?
Yeah.
A biographical spy.
Name of that?
You what, sorry? Chuck Barris.
No, I forgot the name of the guy. Chuck Barris, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, Chuck Barris.
Clooney directed it. Yeah, and he was he a game show host or?
That's correct. Yeah.
And he wrote an autobiography saying that he wasn't just a game show host; he was also an assassin, hired assassin for the government. And he refused to denounce it and say he wasn't. So then George Clooney made it into a film, But they kind of made it a bit of a satire, like he would go nuts or whatever. But he claimed that was a true story, that he was actually an assassin.
And he hosted one of the biggest game shows in America at that time, didn't he? He was quite a famous person, Chuck Barris, in America in the 60s.
Yeah, then his autobiography said he was an assassin. But it goes right back to Houdini. I think Houdini knowingly was MI6 or MI5, wasn't it? The famous Hungarian escapologist. And they said they used to use actors and performers because they could travel around and not be, and just even if they're just moving messages between countries before, telephones and stuff existed, they could be used to move messages between governments and kings and queens and stuff.
Yeah.
Because they travelled.
Yeah.
No
and they were travelling in them circles as well, weren't they?
Yeah.
But yeah. So at the box office, right, it did $33 million, did Confessions of a Dangerous Man.
Of course it did.
It did, yeah. That's what it said on Wikipedia, yeah. So the Clooney family, right, there's about 20 of them, all actors, all down to the Boone family. The Boones, I mean, that's the name I were called in 80s, that. Pat Boone, all these people. All these people, the Clooney family are well-known actors, singers, performers. So he just didn't turn up at that what was it, ER, as an unknown. His whole family was.
Well, that was his actor backstory, wasn't it? He was in ER. That's what made him famous.
Yeah.
Strictly an actor.
He's also related to Tom Hanks. Clooney is of Irish, German, and English ancestry, and so his mother, his grandmother, Mary Ann Sparrow, was a half sister of Nancy Lincoln, mother of President Abraham Lincoln, making Clooney and President Lincoln first half cousins 5 times removed. Nancy Lincoln, or Nancy Hanks Lincoln, was the great-grandfather of the United States President Abraham Lincoln. It is generally accepted that Joseph was the father of Lucy Hanks, the mother of Nancy Hanks Lincoln, making George Clooney and Tom Hanks cousins. Now we'll play video 12, just to really fucking wind you up.
Okay.
Whether or not we like it, we're all in this together. We're all affected by this. So let's, at the very least, there's a lot of stuff you can do beyond that. But at the very least, 3 tiny things is in everybody's wheelhouse if you choose to do them. Wear a mask, wash your hands, social distance. If you can't do that, I don't have much respect for you. It's pretty easy to do your part. If you drive a car, you got to use your turn signal, not drive too fast, and avoid pedestrians. Those are 3 things that should be pretty easy to do.
You get tired of that one.
I remember Arnold Schwarzenegger saying something similar.
Screw your freedom.
Yeah.
Screw your freedom. Nice one, Arnie.
Yeah.
He later
put the
retracted
presentation
that,
back on. We'll close up about that. Yeah, he did, but tough shakes.
I'm not sticking up for Arnie.
He said it. Tom Hanks, he's got royal bloodlines. There he is with Obama, the Queen, at Buckingham Palace. I wonder if he again. These people who all got royal bloodlines. He goes back through Robert de Quincey and William the Lion, King William the Lion, one of the chief authors of the Magna Carta. King John. All these people.
Why would he be there with
the
the
Magna
Queen?
Carta?
Why would he be there with the Queen and Obama? And God knows who else is there.
So he's a distant cousin.
Obama looks very serious here.
Yeah. He just got out with limo, hasn't he, with that guy?
Yeah.
Just done a cheeky line and had a BJ off
it. Crack pipe. Just put crack pipe down in toilet.
Oh, crack pipe, what it?
Yeah. So Hanks is related to Steve McQueen, Judy Garland, Liza Minnelli, Mickey Rourke, Paul Giamatti, Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie's got a royal bloodline as well. Lewis Carroll, Noel Coward, Churchill, Princess Diana, Sarah Ferguson, all the Middletons. Camilla. So he's related to all of them that royal family.
I remember reading about the Manson murders. It just springs to mind this fact when you mentioned Steve McQueen. And apparently, when the Manson murders happened and everyone was terrified that they were going to be next, Steve McQueen wandered around Hollywood with a gun on his hip. And then you just think, who told him? You need to wander around with a gun on me just to, heighten up the terror of the Manson murders. Which were obviously another shenanigans.
Increase the fear.
Yeah. So he's related to all of these people. Anderson Cooper is related to Alison. He's related to Alan Turing and Benedict Cumberbatch, George Washington, Sausage Fingers, Thomas Jefferson. I need to say Marshall Jefferson then. That'd have been a turn up, wouldn't it? But what are the coincidence that he's on that picture there and related to the royal family with the Queen there? And all them people, Diana, Sarah Ferguson, Kate Middleton, Camilla. Anyway, but not only is he related to them guys, that's his bloodline. That's Benedict Cumberbatch and that. But his brother played him in Forrest Gump.
I've heard that before.
He doubled for him, running across the bridge.
So, what's the official reason for this? As Jim put it, Tom had other doubles, but they couldn't do the run, he says, referring to Gimp's stiff, geeky stride.
Gump's stiff.
Sorry, Gump's. Did I say Gimp?
Yeah, you did.
Right, yeah, slipping from a road run.
That's a stupid Hanks thing. But why couldn't he just do... It's not like it was a proper stunt.
No. I just think they take the piss, don't they? Or give him a job, or whatever.
More deception. Deception obviously gives him a boner, doesn't it?
And you were talking earlier when I showed you these pictures, weren't you? That's the Hanks family, about his youngest son.
I know a lot about his son, yeah.
Right.
He's a fucking weirdo, to say the least.
I saw some of the videos he was making, and he was like trolling tinfoilers and conspiracy theorists, saying, I gnaw human pineal glands to get their adrenochrome and stuff like that. Yeah. He sort of, because obviously he saw the comments about him, because then when they saw his tattoos and everything, with the he's got the sort of all-seeing eye in the pyramid right in the middle of his chest, which, I'm not saying anything about that, but a lot of people went mad about it, and then he was doing these response videos that were kind of crazy. Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, could he be a transitioner?
Well, funny you should say that,
That's
Chris.
what Lance wrote about earlier.
I mentioned this to Dom before the show started, because if you look at that tattoo,
it's covering up. Looks like it's covering up a scar.
Exactly. People are saying, "Is this a female to male?"
Well, it's only because I was watching a few stuff about, and I didn't realise till recently how to transition from a woman to a man, you actually can't tell, can you? I mean, they've got beards, they've got the muscles because they've taken so many hormones and stuff. I didn't realise it's easier to spot a man to a woman than it is a woman to a man, which is quite surprising, isn't it?
I think if you've been taking like testosterone for, like, say 10, 20 years, you basically...
The more they get, the bigger they get. They get bigger and bigger and bigger. But those tattoos look like they're literally there to cover up some form of scarring underneath his
breasts.
Yeah.
It does look a bit odd for some off reason.
This is an off reason with his stomach as well. It just doesn't kind of look right, does it? Something looks odd.
Yes. Like I say, I saw a whole. This is ages ago. A whole like sort of dig into it. It was about half an hour long, but this was at the height of like all the Pizzagate stuff and everything. So I got sort of lost in the melee.
So obviously he works with our friend Spielberg, but a lot of Hanks's films are he's actually acting with his cousins. I picked 3 films out here. I didn't go to any others, but Hanks. So Damon, Danson, and Giamatti are all his cousins. Are all in there in Shaving Ryan's Privates. And in Apollo 13, he was with Bacon, who was his cousin. And in Road to Perdition, William H. Macy's his cousin. And then he played this guy, Mr. Rogers, who was a chat show host in the 60s, in A Beautiful Day in the Neighbourhood, and he didn't realise he was his cousin, as he either, until afterwards, apparently. And then he played Uncle Walt, Walt Hitler, in a film, and he's his cousin, 14th cousin, 4 times removed. And he said he didn't know that either until after the film.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you'd think they'd use it to publicise the film, wouldn't they? Because he's admitted that, and he admitted that Walt Disney, he admitted the other guy. You'd think that would be used in the publicity of the film.
Yeah.
Every film he's done, we went through his filmography, didn't we, Fatty? Everything's got an agenda somewhere behind it.
Yeah, because here's the thing. People see all the new Netflix stuff and all the new movies, which has got the agenda very clearly in your face. So they think it's like a fairly recent phenomenon. But that's not true at all. This has been going on since TV and film has become popular. It's got progressively more in your face.
Yeah, less subtle now, I think, innit?
But even that Bill Paxton in that film, although I don't think he's his cousin, he's related to a lot of the NASA astronauts as well. Yeah, and Princess Diana, Ernest Hemingway, Ben Affleck's a distant cousin of his. He's also related to So I looked at some of the NASA people then. I thought, right, Apollo 13, like Werner von Braun. We did a big breakdown of Werner von Braun. He's related to the Magna Carta signers. He's also related to Edward I and Edward III, Charlemagne, etc., etc. He's a distant cousin of Guy Ritchie, Ted Danson, Darwin, Lewis Carroll, Rockefeller, Bush family, John Kerry, Diana, Camilla, Middleton, Sausage Fingers, Aldous Huxley. So that's Werner von Braun. That's Werner von Braun.
Is it as simple as it's not a big club and you're in it? It's a big family and they're all in it.
Yeah, Werner's also a cousin of Alan Shepard, who I mentioned earlier, the Apollo astronaut, and Story Musgrave, who was another NASA astronaut, is his 18th cousin. Yeah, so
sort of shatters the idea that you can be whatever you want to be. If you want to be an actor, an astronaut, a politician, basically good luck if you're not part of their family.
Yes. Yeah.
But also, Lance, that's a bullshit dream that's fed to us from being kids, isn't it? You can be wherever you want. You can't, right? And you shouldn't really strive for that either. You should strive to be happy, not just for, fame and stuff.
Yeah, and define yourself by what your job is.
Yeah, well, and they've got Brad Pitt here. Related, his ancestors, King Henry, distant cousins of Diana, Taylor Swift, Affleck, Boris Johnson, Magna Carta founders, some of the founding fathers, William the Conqueror, all Charles Darwin, Angelina Jolie, King Philip of France, which then again bites in the ass that everybody follows the same gene line. She's a cousin of Hillary Clinton. And she has that French Huguenot lineage as well. Madonna, Celine Dion, Jim Carrey, Pierre Trudeau, Justin Bieber.
Looks like she got some sort of Jewish barcode tattooed on her.
Just thinking the same thing.
On her arm.
Wasn't she a heroin addict as well at one point, or something like that?
I don't know. I've never heard that.
Yeah, I think she was either an alcoholic or some kind of drug. She had a drug problem, I think. Yeah.
Do you remember that video going back years ago on the Wild West where there's a YouTube when she was talking about killing a snake?
No.
Do you remember that? Yeah, she it was like someone had videoed her in secret under a table at some party or something. There's loads of stuff going on. And she was saying, I can't remember exactly, so don't quote me on this, but she was kind of saying that she had to kill her favourite snake to progress in the system, I think.
That sounds a bit culty, doesn't it?
She talked about being tortured as well. I can't remember the exact details, but you were like a hidden camera at a party, it looked like. She was talking about being tortured and murdering her own pet snake. It's very strange.
Sounds wholesome.
But it was really, what to call it, off the cuff, just she didn't seem... It was like the person she talked to was involved as well, because it weren't like, oh, you won't believe what I had to do. It was just like a matter-of-fact conversation. I don't know if anyone else remembers
her dad's John Voight as well, isn't it?
John Voight,
that bit of Hellraiser 60s sort of actor, wasn't he?
Yeah.
In the hippie type actors of the day.
What was that film? Cowboy? What is it? Cowboy with Dustin Hoffman? Well, he played a gay rent boy.
Oh, John Voight did?
Yeah. Midnight Cowboy.
Yeah, that's right. She was, I'm just looked it up here now. She had substance abuse issues and it went public in 1998. The video surfaced showing her using heroin and cocaine.
Right.